and we're back with a pretty big one as well. MarineLorD versus Beasty. I think the matchup that everyone wants to see, but usually not in the semi-finals. It's just, it feels like we're getting a little bit of a throwback to Masters of Steel, where these two faced off, and MarineLorD made that look quite convincing here. Although MarineLorD hasn't been on the warpath he has previously, so this might be a little bit of a different MarineLorD from what we're used to seeing, but at the same time, Beasty took a significant break. He's back now, hoping to qualify. The question is just, are these guys at the top of their game, and who comes out ahead?
It is a grande clásico at the end of the day, isn't it? But there's no Spanish player here. It's just the way it's called, right? Yeah, I mean, we've seen these two go head-to-head so many times, and back in the day especially, they were so evenly matched. It was difficult to... very difficult to predict any outcome between the two of them. Over the years, however, MarineLorD has got an edge over Beasty, and frankly over everyone in that matter, winning the majority of ST tournaments, right? We've seen it time and time again. But as you mentioned, Wamman, there's some cracks starting to show. First it was Lucifron, all the way in the first Elite Classic, and it was Louis, now Papipo, most recently in the latest EGC. So MarineLorD is facing stiffer competition than he ever has before. And Beasty is looking once again to put another chink in that armor, as he has done so many times in the past. Can he do it here again today, in the very first Road to Red Bull Wololo here?
And honestly, I think this is a question both of them have on their minds. Because, okay, a little bit of insider info. I think a lot of players aren't practicing with the same people they used to. So Beasty has different practice partners from before. MarineLorD, from what I know, also has different practice partners from before. So they're not used to the same type of preparation as they had historically. So I feel like this could also just bring out a different side from these players, because MarineLorD is someone who doesn't play any of these small events to try and, you know, hide the strategies, keep their practice private. But Beasty, on the other hand, currently just playing absolutely everything. So MarineLorD has a lot of VODs to look through and histories open that he can look and prepare himself for. But on the other hand, Beasty, he's going in a little bit more blind than MarineLorD is here.
Yeah, I remember Beasty mentioning, I think it was yesterday, actually on stream, I think I saw it, where he finds that he doesn't do great in practice, but then when it matters most in these tournament matches, something sort of clicks in him, which I do understand. There's a very deep understanding within Beasty of the game and general RTS concepts, all the way from StarCraft 2. Obviously, he's a veteran. He understands these very well, even on low practice, whereas MarineLorD, of course, he has a lot of that experience and knowledge as well, but he really is a grinder. He likes to have the sample size of these practice games and break them down into the most important concepts to follow, and that has served both of them very well so far indeed. There's the question whether Beasty, if he does really put his pedal to the metal, so to say, and really put in those extra hours in practice, whether he can achieve, you know, even greater things than he already has. That's something that's yet to be seen, of course. But the first matchup on our hands here, this is an explosive one. We saw this yesterday, Marlians up against the Iobids, and you know, Marlian's one of those top tier saves, but Iobids has been looking like a bit of a boogie monster recently as well.
The thing about this matchup is, I was actually having a conversation about the draft just before, and Beasty mentioned that Rus against Zushi is something that's usually an auto loss for Rus, and of course, me losing in any direction cannot provide that instant feedback, but I understand that when a man says that, you know it is the truth. But guys, let's roll on in. So him not getting that matchup, it feels like he is definitely happy with this. Now, Iobids against Marlians. This, honestly, I'm really excited to see how this plays out, because with your Desert Raiders that you are able to produce so early on, with the Dervish that people usually go for in Feudal Age, you can provide a little bit of pressure that other civilizations usually can't against the Marlians, who loves to be a little bit greedy and get that cow boom up and running. Marlian likes time, and Iobids, they punish people who need a little bit of time, because they just have so many options when it comes to doing that fast castle where you can make units that are generally pretty hard to handle, but at the same time, Marlians has pretty good answers to those too. So my question is just, where does Iyobid end up in this matchup? Is it something that Iyobid is comfortable with? to me, it feels like it might just be the case.
It's so difficult, isn't it? You mentioned it very, very well there, Wham. Iobids are able to exert a lot of pressure, and using that Dervish wing, they can also survive a lot of pressure in the meanwhile. And Beasty actually going for the greedier route here, and this just screams fast castle to me straight away, to be honest. Going directly onto the deer here at the start, scouting it out straight away, foregoing the berries. The berries are safer still, mostly underneath the radius of that town center, whereas these deer, of course, are not. So, although he likely will not be able to exhaust this entire pack, getting most of it nice and early is going to be a nice bit of fruitful food income for him. MarineLorD on the other side, in the color red as the Malians spawning in the south side of King of the Hill here. Going with the standard opener here, houses, not very surprising. Malians has been with this opener since their inception, frankly. So, it's going to stay that way.
Now, I do want to address the fact that everyone's spamming in chat. What's going on with the graphics, guys? Come on, we're getting some vibrant colors for once. Do you see those intense greens? That's a beautiful type of green. But it looks even better when you're going to be spilling the blood of those deers and just bringing every bit of food you could ever wish for. Now, I love seeing this. Already going out on the deer, you are just capitalizing on your civ's strength here, or at least your opponent's weakness. And a lot of people are scared to go out on these outside resources, especially so early on. But with this matchup, both of them are able to read it perfectly. They know where the strength is going to lie here. MarineLorD, what my big question is for him with the Malians, this is something that I love to watch in the early game, especially when anyone picks Malians, is what is that opening with that early gold we usually see? Because a lot of pro players, they have different ways of spending it, opting for upgrades or just getting that food boost early on. But MarineLorD is, again, someone who doesn't show his strategy. So this is where I'm sitting here waiting to see exactly where that will be spent. But let's see also, Beasty is getting close to aging up, and maybe we're in for a surprise.
Yes, that early goal for the Malians really allows plenty of options here for them. Is it going to be cows? Is it going to be the upgrades? Or useful in their own way? Either option can be quite prudent here for him. And what you mentioned about MarineLorD, as we just wait to go back in here, and there we go, we're back once again. But with the Malians here, and for MarineLorD, you mentioned it very well, he doesn't really like to showcase his strategies or his opinions on what exactly is great and what isn't. I mean, he recently released a tier list, and I take it with a grain of salt, frankly, just because I can't trust this guy before actually tournaments finish. You never know whether he is, those are actually his for Beasty's Iobids, no surprises there, and Mansa Quarry for MarineLorD. Now, I did mention before that there is indicative of a fast castle, but not necessarily, right? I mean, extra food is also great for a lot of units, so that might be on the cards here for Beasty too, because Iobids, I mean, they have a few options here. You can try to go really hardcore in Feudal against the Malians, which is always something they're vulnerable against, but that is not your strength as Iobids. You could do what Anatan did yesterday and go for a castle timing into a victory, which was very well executed indeed. Worked wonders for him there up against Vortex, and now might be the key for Beasty as well. But there's also a chance that you go for the timing and then look for a very entrenched hold on the sacred side, because that Malian food economy with the cows, once it kicks in, it's very oppressive. However, if there is no repeated back and forth trading of units, then ultimately there's no unit exchange going on, which means even though they have the better income, as long as their military numbers keep climbing for both, the quality will potentially be in Beasty's favor in that regard. And if he has control of the hill alongside fortifications, then it doesn't really matter how much food MarineLorD has. If the one decisive push fails, there'll be no time to use that food to remass.
Now, this is pretty interesting for me, because with Iobids, you see someone already going for a little bit of wood to make that little bit of pressure with those dervishes. But Beasty is not even thinking about that. He's going straight one way to castle. The moment the logistics finishes, he wants to be as close as possible to click this up. So it does feel like Beasty is not going to be doing any bit of harassment here. That scout needs to be careful, though. But MarineLorD, not going to be wasting time killing the scouts. He knows this is not going to be the biggest of concerns just yet. Now, MarineLorD opting not for the cows, but rather going for the double broadaxe and wheelbarrow, which honestly, I'm so happy to see. This is just something we don't get to experience enough of. And finally, some diversity in the gameplay here. Going for that second goal as well, with Beasty not going for any pressure. MarineLorD gets to do that. The question is he going to make enough units to deal with those Castle Age boys that will be arriving in his base?
Typically, when we do see the cows early on from the Marians, it's to fuel an early sulfur spam, which can do very well to gain map control, start picking off villages and put pressure on the opponent. But with the presence of these dervish and likely a tower on that gold already, I'm sure, we can have a look just to make certain, but, you know, 1 to 2 sulfurs, they won't present much of a threat early on, so that food really will not do too much for MarineLorD in that regard. You'll need plenty of sulfur to do any damage, and then he can't effectively dive with the sulfur, even with iron undermesh, which will be heavily delayed naturally. You need a blacksmith for that, so finding that pressure point is very difficult early on for the Marlins, especially because their strength does come from those cattle ranches filled with the cows. So it forces them into a very difficult position, as once again, just bear with us for a moment here.
I can see. Honestly, what I want to make sure of is that Twitch chat is just enjoying the diversity of the view here. Now, we did have a little bit of vibrancy, but we do want to balance these colors out for you. And that's exactly what we did here. Very well done, Beasty, healing up the boys. And we got surprised here with a bunch of Donzos as well. This Dervish needs to be careful because those 2 Donzos, they are doing some work. But the second one is in position, and Beasty going up with that industry wing is going to be hoping for quite a bit of wood here, which makes sense. You want to get your production buildings out, but what other bonuses do players get from this?
Yeah, the additional wood, the stone, as well as plenty of building speed, almost up to par with the Chinese and Jushi. I think just shy, if I'm not mistaken. And that's going to be significant in actually getting up those production buildings with the wood that you receive. Now, usually you want to get your production set up before that cartilage finishes so that you can queue up units instantly. However, the extra building speed is going to help make up for that slight delay here for Beastie's Iobids. However, the pressure is mounting, and Donzo is the unit of choice for MarineLorD by now, it is clear. No more gold income here for Beastie. He got up a good little bank, close to 500. That's going to be enough for 4 Camel Lancers straight away. But Camel Lancers up against Donzos, even Fudo, it's a bit tricky, isn't it? You have to be really careful where exactly you send them.
With the Camel Lancers, you're able to do pretty decent damage, but the problem is just MarineLorD has invested well. He's made sure to get enough of each. And what you can notice here, Beastie's goals are on the same side. So this is not something that he's just going to have instant access to. He needs to be careful about this. He also has the dervishes out on the map. I don't know if they are in the position to pick up some relics. We do see some of them flanking around, trying to get ready for that age up. But MarineLorD knows this is coming. We don't see a queue up just yet. He might just be waiting for a little bit more food. But the Castle Age has hit, and now the relics need to be underway. First one picked up and snuck around the side, but he needs to be careful because losing a dervish here is massive.
Massive indeed, and it might be on the cards, but Beastie doesn't greed any longer. He drops the relic to increase his move speed, but the Donzo charge connects only 1, so the dervish will keep its life for now. Blacksmith being dropped, as well as a mosque, archery ranger, stable, so much wood for Beastie to work with, and it has all now been used. Second dervish coming in from the same side. MarineLorD might not expect this, as we see the Donzos and the scout moving out of position now. So at least one relic, lucky that second one that's been dropped quite close to the base, will also be secured. You can really see here the differences between these two players. Beastie typically known for trying to greed as much as he possibly can be. And he certainly did that. Not even a tower set up on that gold as the dervish goes down with the spear throw from these Donzo. That's a big loss early on for Beastie. But as I was saying, the greed for Beastie here really showing, whereas MarineLorD cold and calculated as usual with the Donzos and the Javelins. This is classic Malians that we're witnessing right now. Up to 10 cows at this point. And the Donzos and Javelins will do very well to stem the early tide of any units here from Beastie. He'll need plenty of veteran archers to overcome a decent mass of Javelins, even an age up. Whereas the Donzo, of course, the Camel Lancers, yeah, Beastie respecting it. Only one stable drop because he knows the Donzos will make quick work of them.
And I love seeing this investment on the towers on the woodline as well. He realizes, hey, I'm probably not going to be able to take a raid from a MarineLorD when it comes, but it's surprising to see at the same time, because usually when you see an AOBITS player, they're the ones in the driver's seat. MarineLorD has completely turned that on its head, now going up as well, while having all the cards with the pressure. But now you see the Camel Lancer trying to find a bit of damage here, not finding anything, because MarineLorD does not leave his resources unattended.
Yeah, his units are already in place to meet that Camel Lancer. 3 Donzos is certainly going to do the trick here for him, as the Grand Fulani Corral now only 35 seconds out here for MarineLorD, with plenty of cows to boot, now over halfway the threshold towards that maximum count of 20, and more units being produced. Plenty of archers already on the field here for Beasty. There could be a little timing here to push across the map, but he is still only now moving past beyond his gold and his stone. So I don't think the timing, especially because of the faster veterancy upgrades for the Malians, that timing is just not going to be there. And without that timing here for the Ayyubids on 1 TC eco, without growth for that matter, no extra villagers here for Beasty, this is the kind of position where it can become very tricky very quickly for the Ayyubids.
Especially when you are the one making archers against a bunch of Donzos, but you have to understand, at some point, your archers do outscale the Donzos, because with Donzos, you do need to have that extra layer of micro in between as well. And MarineLorD is doubling down on just Donzos here. Beasty feels that this is the moment, though. We do see those upgrades taking quite a bit, but they should be done any second now. And Beasty, at the same time, he's getting another dervish, ensuring that he has a way to pick up that next relic too, already on 3 of them. So this is a pretty happy AOBIDS in terms of getting those resources. He does need to be careful here, because this is that time where Malians is just absolutely devastating. We do see a Camel Lancer going down and no villager paying the price at all. So Beasty losing that a little big, I would say a big part of his army here, because that could have been a significant front line. Luckily, he doesn't have to deal with a bunch of sofas just yet, but with that food income we see from MarineLorD, we know this is not going to be a very difficult transition for him.
Initially it was looking a little bit scary when the push came in from Beasty. MarineLorD's javelin thrower numbers were quite minimal at that stage, but they're climbing steadily now. But Beasty looks to gain control of the center. Little clash coming through here. Archers taking a volley on top of the javelin throwers, and they receive one in turn. Bodies falling left and right here. But the javelins now with the veterancy in, and Steeled Arrow on the way for them as well. That'd be tough for the archers to trade out, but the sheer numbers here are very, very good here for Beasty, and he's going to pick up his 4th relic at this point in time. Only MarineLorD's home relic is for him to take still. Beasty's going to have a tough time getting that one. But with this kind of economic deficit that Beasty finds himself under here as the Ayyubids, for now the numbers are looking solid, but these are going to climb exponentially faster here for MarineLorD. We see already more than double the food income for him. But there is one tool the Ayyubids have to offset that and just say no to any kind of mass advantage that any other civ may get, and that is the Manjanique.
Myriad, you have a huge amount of experience with Manjanique players, I recall, but this man, he needs to find the resources to do so. He is the one who's going to need to deal with a significant mass now, especially with the sofas coming in. Those archers are going to be having a pretty tough time to actually answer to this. So for those of you who don't know what I'm referencing, Myriad got a... Was it a Manjanique that got stuck?
Yeah, it was a step-stuck Manjanique, unfortunately.
Oh,
and
I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us, and Beasty, learning from my mistakes, he's not making it near any sort of natural terrain here. Nicely situated between the mines there and past the sacred site, not risking any kind of washing machine situation. And it appears that the raids are being attempted here by Beasty, but MarineLorD, of course, just a master of defense, as always, so it's not going to be a problem here for him to keep track of these few Camel Lancers. The archer count is a bigger concern, though. I mean, the javelins are climbing, and the sofa now being added. But with the presence of Manjaniques, this can become tricky. The timer is already now 2 minutes down from its initial 10 minutes. Fortifications are coming through. Now, Springald emplacement on that first outpost, and stone mining has halted for now, so there's going to be no extra outposts, no keeps, at least on the menu yet, but a second Manjanique is on the menu.
Now, this is an interesting position for me for the Malians, because as the Malian player, you know your economy is going to be better, and it's going to be better for a significant amount of time. However, you're on a timer. This is the matchup. You need to watch this timer. You need to be able to defend against the raids, which MarineLorD is just a master at doing. But at the same time, you have to try and slow down the AO bit so their defenses just don't get too big. He does get a villager kill, and the first villager of the game goes down, but another one pays the price, and the Mangonel gets a decent shot, but not decent enough here. The other one was not set up correctly just yet, but there's a sofa in the base, and it is definitely causing a lot of havoc here, as Beasty's food sources are also starting to run out, and with MarineLorD now being the man making sofas, these raids are going to get more and more difficult for Beasty to handle.
Now this is quite interesting here, because that one sofa did get a very good amount of value, 2 villager kills, but look at what's happening. It has been revealed. One sofa means that there's likely plenty more sofa on the way, and Beasty respects this threat entirely. A lot of camel lancers in queue, crossbow switch on the way as well, already 8 on the field, so this sort of little strategy here by MarineLorD is fantastic, but
And this is just a problem now for Beasty. His food has run out, and he needs to be out here on the map. But every single time he steps out, this is going to be a lot of pressure from MarineLorD. He knows he shouldn't be fighting in the middle. He knows that this type of control that Beasty has is going to be significant, and his economy is good, but it's not good enough just yet to contest this. He needs to find more damage. But you see Beasty responding in with a wall on the one side, but there's just villagers, there's nothing else, and he's gonna lose a bunch more again. Javelins just letting the bodies hit the floor one by one. Ooh, even got hit by a little bit of fire there. 10 villagers now down. MarineLorD definitely doing his damage, and as the Malian player, you are usually the one taking risks and losing villagers. But in this case, MarineLorD knows exactly how to put that pressure where it needs to be. So Beasty needs to learn from that mistake and not be moving out with all these units or all these villagers all for free. But it looks like he's refocusing his efforts in this base, though. And again, the villagers.
No,
they're just going to be victim to all of this. Oh, no. And they get us around on a bunch. The rest of them will go back. But he should know this. MarineLorD is constantly on the food sources. He should know exactly where this is going to hit. 0 food per minute now. And this is a pretty tough spot.
Coming true now. Even now, the sofa raid is still unchecked, running rampant in his base. The entire wood line is idle. Half of Beasty's economy is not working. The camel lancers are there to meet the sofa. They all push them away for now, but the charge is used. So at this point, the sofa are the same move speed. They can get away. One will be left behind as a sacrificial lamb, but an immense amount of damage has been done, and this is exactly what Beasty has wanted to avoid. As long as he doesn't take bad trades and keeps firm control of the center, he can, offset that economic advantage that the Malians have. But as these raids start seeping through, chipping away at his own economy and making it even weaker than it was before, this is what allows MarineLorD to severely outmass, and we can already see that manifest. 116 population, 247 for MarineLorD, and the number's gonna keep climbing. 0 food income almost at this point for Beasty, only 67, but 0 villages on food. Whereas MarineLorD, 1.4 thousand a minute, never mind the other 2 as well. And look at this mass breaker, it's getting very concerning. 35 sofa.
Now, you have to keep in mind here, Beasty is using every bit of resource that he has to reinvest into getting more siege. Because for him, he's got the villagers on wood. That's all he has access to right now. Camel Lancers trying to find a little bit of damage here. And they do clap one little villager who was out here. But now MarineLorD sees that massive towers in the middle. He knows what he needs to invest in. Keeping in mind, the villagers here definitely not enough to keep preparing against 3 trebuchets, but the Manganiques are hitting everywhere at the same time. I just don't know if this is going to be enough against that mass of Sofas. 42 will be able to get on top of any siege mass that Beasty tries to make.
Yes, the walls are very prudent here to limit the movement of MarineLorD's mass, but like you said, there's so many Manganiques, there's so many towers, but against 40 Sofa, the only real counter to this is those Camo Lancers and those crossbows, and the count is only half in terms of raw unit population, and the value is severely in the lead here for MarineLorD. Frankly, I don't think it's enough. I mean, Manganiques are able to stem the tide of any kind of disadvantage often if there's enough of them and they can be kept alive, but yeah, MarineLorD, he's circling like a shark. Reinforcements are starting to get cut now, but there's not many of them, frankly, because the food income is not there for Beasty. MarineLorD just looking for the perfect angle to engage, but admittedly it's difficult. You can see the respect he's placing on this, and rightfully so, because 6 Manganiques, that now a 7th on the way as well, even sprinkled. This type of fire from above is able to absolutely massacre any kind of army here. So MarineLorD has to be extremely careful about how he engages this.
But he made sure that that economic lead he has is utilized to its fullest. So now with four trebuchets, he's just going to pepper down anything that Beasty tries to react here. These Manganiques are hitting, but they're not hitting enough yet. And Beasty doesn't have a front line for these Manganiques. He's got a bunch of archers, which are going to melt against these Sofas. Now MarineLorD getting a mangonel of his own and getting his farming upgrade. He knows he's got the resources. Let me just spend what I can. I have a great population. I just want to wait for every second I can. Wall coming down, villagers quickly trying to rebuild. But so far, a few villagers are going to pay the price. And Beasty going for a keep behind this, making a lot of sense. He needs to hold this point, because if he doesn't, this is his only win condition. Economically, he's cooked. More than those units under the Manganique fire.
Yeah, I do guarantee that Beasty will pull every single villager when the need arises, which undoubtedly it will very soon from now. Only 1 minute and 17 seconds left until victory here for Beasty. As long as that site is uncontested, the wall is broken through again, and the Sofa find the opening. He's not going to waste any more time. The Manganiques are set up. Massive fire coming from the backline here onto MarineLorD's army. Wololo comes through as well, but the Dervish gets focused out by the javelin throws. There is a very good concave here for MarineLorD, and he's able to start wrapping around the flanks. The Manganiques are starting to be exposed. There's no more line here for Beasty. There's no front line at all. The villagers are now pulled just to hold the pathing of the Sofa. Manganiques reposition behind towards that keep. Once again, they're being kept alive by bodies here. There's just meat in front of wood here to keep Beasty alive in this game. And he has massacred so many of MarineLorD's forces. The push is actually stolen.
The push has stolen, but you can see that MarineLorD is still making units behind this. Beasty using every villager he can to get this wall up and secure it. 40 seconds on the clock. Now, this starts to get harder and harder for Beasty to hold, but MarineLorD at the same time, he's on a really, really scary timer here. The timer doesn't seem to be ticking at all, but he does have the sacred site. What's going on? Oh! Is this a bug? Oh my god.
Wait. No, it's still ticking.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Oh,
but it was. The bodies. The bodies seem to have blocked it, and just like that, it's up. That was disgusting.
I didn't see it there. We'll have to check that again. But yeah, the Sofa are breaking through at this point, but when the Manganiques start falling, that's when it gets really concerning here for Beasty, and falling indeed is what they are doing. Only 2 left now on the field still. They are low at this point as well. The Trebs are working overtime. Pretty much all the outposts have fallen. Only 1 fortified outpost with the Springwood emplacement, the very initial one actually, left at this point in time. Relic on the site as well, with no Dervish there to buy further time for him. The wall gets repaired again, but there's virtually nothing here for Beasty left. However, it's the similar case for MarineLorD, as the Sofa are streaming in here. Only 4 seconds left as the timer is paused yet again. I think there's too many Sofa. And the Mangonels, as well as the Trebs.
Oh, everything is getting on top of the sacred site, but MarineLorD has broken it with 4 seconds on the clock. It seems that Beasty will not be able to win this one with the sacred site victory. So close. MarineLorD just absolutely pushing through and reading this perfectly. That
what
was...
a first game.
I'm speechless. I'm absolutely speechless. I'm sitting here looking at that at the same time. I'm like, oh my goodness, did it work? Is everything still fine? Are we okay? Now, guys, I know the first game was a little bit wonky for that UI, but we'll get that fixed up for the second game, I believe. We've got the most competent crew here in the lands, and the lands are pretty wide. So we'll see if the Malian king, who got taken down by his opposing civilization, is going to be able to do this a little bit better in game 2, because MarineLorD, he looked on point with those raids as well.
Yes, the hold from Beasty was absolutely spectacular, but the damage that was dealt beforehand, right, it was all mounting up, and when it mattered most, it made the difference there at the end for MarineLorD. Just so many villages going down, the food income wasn't there at the end. Beasty was solely reliant on his defenses, on his siege engines to pull him through in the end, which is, as it should be really with Iobids when you go for this kind of strategy, but it was so well executed, but it just wasn't quite enough. If only that damage hadn't been taken early on by Beasty, then I've no doubt that he would have pulled this through, as it was down to just a mere 4 seconds at the end there.
Now, that must feel like a pretty tough defeat in all of this, because especially when you have put Iobids down, a civilization that is notorious for taking these, but again, so close. But with the next matchup we have in front of us, we see that Sengoku was vetoed here by MarineLorD, not wanting to play against that civ, which honestly has been let through a significant amount of times in the qualifiers. Now again, we don't get to see MarineLorD in these tournaments. We don't see what he's doing unless he gets to the EGC events. KPMN, never seeing MarineLorD in those. He never gets to show us what bans he deems OP. And like you said, that tier list earlier, we cannot trust it. But he bans Sengoku, doesn't want to face this. So Beasty on the Byzantines. And this has been a pretty prioritized pick as well for a lot of players.
Yeah, exactly. Byzantines, ever since Pro Scouts has been nerfed yet again a little while ago, they've climbed another part inside of the tier list. They're even better than they were before. They have just a powerhouse of an economy once those systems come online, and they're not as reliant on theirs, other civilizations, instead preferring those berries, as a berry civ does, not because of the faster gather rate, but because they extract a whole 5th resource out of them in the form of that olive oil, which they can use to make some premium units indeed, typically leaning onto those longbowmen, just still the best archer in the game, in my opinion, at this point in time. Well, maybe Yumi might have a bone to pick with that one. Yumi are quite special too. But up against Jushi, now, Jushi I have not seen, I think, on front range at all, ever. In all my practice games and all the matches I've watched, I do not believe I've seen this. So I'm very excited to see what MarineLorD's cooking here. And against the Byzantines, this is a very nuanced matchup, I want to say. There's, you know, you can try to envision how it goes by the book, which is, well, Jushi is sort of worse China, so China can sometimes struggle against Biz, you know, maybe they have a kill point in feudal, so, but then again, longbows counter the Zuganu, so it might be tough for Jushi. But there are some strategies you can pull here with Jushi, centered around some well-placed towers and some supervised palace guards that can make a Byzantine player want to tear their hair out.
The thing is, there are so many things that Lancaster could do, though. That's why Beasty got rid of it. I feel like a lot of pro players, MarineLorD's got a great draft, don't get me wrong. The civilizations he's got in this lineup feels pretty crazy. And getting Lancaster vetoed just tells us one thing. Lancaster is going to see the light of day a little bit later, but we'll see if Beasty has an answer to that. Zushi, though, with front range, you are already dealing with a map that is very small. Your raids can be quite efficient if they land, but at the same time, you can easily defend against them with the right amount of walling. Byzantines, they do have a pretty good answering castle, and that farm transition could feel pretty good. I don't think Zushi wants this to get to late castle, where Byzantines is at its peak. A lot of players are struggling against the Golden Horn Tower as well. The ability to produce is just so significant. So definitely going to be a tough matchup either way. And honestly, we see who's in the driver's seat for both of these. So I'm excited to see what these pull out. And I know Beasty is a big fan of longbows, so I know that contract has to be longbows, and if it isn't, I know nothing.
Against Yushi, it's tough to pick something else for sure. And once you reach that castle age, veterancy comes in, and the longbows alongside the cataphracts, just mwah, what a composition that is indeed. That is the composition you want to play as the Byzantines, and he's going to undoubtedly look for it here. MarineLorD's response, I think, will be very interesting, though. I have no idea what he's got planned here. We're just going to have to see. As I said, I've never seen Jushi played here before, but this matchup can go many ways, so I'm very excited. And Front Range, one of those maps... See, there's a funny story behind this map. Avery, the maker of this map, just, you know, probably the best map maker we have present in the community, just so consistent with them. He was tasked with making a closed-off defensive map for King of the Rockies, and this was the result, Front Range. And it's just you know, it's just kind of funny how it's as far away from a defensive map as possible, really. At least early on, it's extremely aggressive. Not that that's a problem, you know. It's just funny how that works out. I think it's a good, fun map, and the playstyles present on it are very entertaining to watch. But it's just. I just thought it's quite entertaining how that turns out. You go to design one thing, but it ends up being the opposite, as we see the Green Mile in front of our eyes there.
The Grinch that stole Christmas, or our hearts at least. So I see Twitch chat is currently in shambles about that Sacred Side Timer. Guys, we did rewatch the VOD. The Sacred Side Timer was not bugged. It was just the UI that got a little stuck. So hold your horses, hold your pitchforks. The Sacred Side Timer was ticking, and it was not bugged. Don't worry. I can see the chat is still fired up about that one. So the UI did deceive us a little bit here, and luckily the Sacred Side Timer worked as intended. Now Twitch chat should be okay. I saw them being in a little bit of shambles and freaking out a little bit about that one, but definitely worked the way in as intended. And Beasty will have to earn that next victory if he wants to take down the Lord.
Keep in mind, right, this is only the very first road to Red Bull Wololo here towards Londinium. You know, whoever gets eliminated this week, they're just going to be back next week, and someone else will be joining them next week as well. But yeah, it's only one player that qualifies per week to a total of 4 for the main event in London later this year, and everyone's going to get plenty of chances to do so. Well, 4 total for that matter, and the winner of this series will be going up into the finals of this week. That will be a best of 7, and they will meet either Puppy Paw or Anatand. That will be the next series today after this one. So plenty to look forward to. Some incredible names putting a show here for us.
Myriad, when do you leave us from the caster desk? Because I know that you are also getting substituted in. Is it after week 2?
It's next week. I'm coming in. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about the competition here?
Easy games, you know. It's yeah.
No, it's. But the reason I'm asking, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
The reason I'm asking about this as well is because I've seen a lot more closer games in the top 16 to 18 at this point. I feel like with the qualifiers as well, we saw a lot of people just barely not make it. You being one of those, one of the people that absolutely came in with a bang, but just missed it by an inch. And I absolutely love this style of event where we're getting people qualified 1 a week, meaning that someone new on the block gets that opportunity to play themselves in. So how do you feel, even if it's not about just qualifying? I want you to ask your matchup among the top 16. Is it feeling a lot closer than it used to be?
I think it's been very close for a while. There's a lot of players in that sort of at that top 16 threshold that, you know, I don't know exactly how many I could count them, but not right now. But there's a few of us that are very close, that are all pretty much really evenly matched. and just day by day, you know, any one of us can really qualify for these top 16 spots, and some days others pull through, some days others pull through and play more consistent. It is about that consistency at the end of the day. Many people in the top 8, for example, mentioned that is the difference maker, and that's undoubtedly the case. And I mean, that's the real threshold, I would say. When you start breaking into that top 12, top 10, that's when the level sort of increases to a different point entirely, and that's the very difficult point to break into, because you can get into top 16 here and there, you know, you'll qualify one tournament and not the next, and you'll qualify again, then you won't qualify once again for another one, back and forth and so. But getting these deeper runs is the really difficult part of these tournaments, and well, we're all working towards that goal, right? So.
And I guess while we're waiting for the tech stuff to get together, I feel like we might as well yap a little bit about the whole tournament setup and how this leads to the UK. Now, I think for a lot of players here, this is just an opportunity to constantly practice with these top 16 and get their spot in there too, try and match up. Because we have quite a few players that also have complained about getting tired pretty quickly when these sets drag out too long. And this is another opportunity to just try and showcase, like, hey, I can take some of these big boys down even when... Oh, I just need to do it at the start of the day when I'm nice and fresh. So definitely something that we get to see another side of. Because yesterday we had some pretty good games there. Who was it that took down Lucifron? Was it Baltoon, right? Baltoon.
You mean yesterday?
Baltoon was an... Yes, yesterday. Baltoon was an absolute menace. I can't wait to see him next week.
Baltoon just... I don't know how he does it, man. Like, this guy just goes AFK from 1v1s for, 3/4 of the year, just plays some team games, is casually the best team game player in the world. And then he sees, oh, there's Red Bull going on. Okay, I guess I play. He plays just a few practice games, just takes down Lucifron, goes 2-0 up against Puppy Paw. And, yeah, well... Unfortunately, he got a reverse sweep there, but it's just actually unreal. I don't know how he does it. Obviously, he works hard when he practices, and he has an incredible understanding of the game. But there's no denying the man is very talented. There is just an innate sort of instinct for the game there, and other games as well. He does really, really well in where. It kind of clicks for him without even needing to work on it too much, and frankly, I'm jealous, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, very well done for him indeed, and I'm proud of him.
See, this is the crazy part, because I know that Baltoon, if someone was mentioning how Baltoon was not... Oh, wait, guys, we're back! We have saturation, we have units on the map, and we have a boar that is being taken down. MarineLorD going to snack out here just a little bit and go for that ball. But Beasty, being the first player in a while, I see not denying this. He's just letting that eco do the talking.
And this makes perfect sense here for MarineLorD Jushi. That's typically something that's really prioritized on front rage here. It's going to be that early ball. It can spawn very close to either town center. We see the ball towards the south side, closer to MarineLorD's town center, and then the one in the north, closer to Beasty's. They always spawn quite close together towards this center. And being able to leverage this one early is going to yield amazing fruit for whichever player manages to do so. Now, that's the tough one for the Byzantines to do normally. The reason for the Byzantines pick here is you can see that the berries are somewhat accessible as well. And early on, at least, the Byzantines are not very reliant on gold, so they don't mind the minimal gold access on this map with the 2 small starting golds as opposed to a regular medium-sized one on most maps. Whereas Jushi, of course, they have taxes, so they're not too strained by lack of gold early on as either. And supervising that boar, I mean, the amount of food income is incredible.
Now, Zushi is quite food intensive, though. We've seen how tough it feels to play as the Zushi, and you're pumping out units that are quite expensive. You don't have that extra boost to just make sure your food prolongs into the Lance's spam. And this map as well, it doesn't have a lot of safe food sources in your base. You do need to prolong them as much as possible. And Beasty being on a sheep here, he's tapping them out, you know? This is the issue. So if Byzantines has an ability to survive past all of that, I think they'll be fine, but Zushi definitely gets an insane amount of value, especially, like you said, with that supervision, they drop off just a bit more anyway. So this prolongs MarineLorD's food, and it gets him into a solid spot getting later into this game. But let's go see where that meditation garden could be the juiciest. We can see it. That could be a pretty nice spot there. Getting that gold, getting a stun. Ooh, double berries as well. Ooh, and that's exactly where the man... Is that where he's going? No. He's going a little bit more south. Double berries. Trip. Does it? Ooh. Ooh,
Not
if only
quite,
we could...
I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't quite touch those upper berries, but 4 from the initial pack will be taken, as well as I think pretty much all of the southern one. Yeah, the entire southern one. So if I'm not mistaken, that is going to be a total of, so it's 6, 12, 18, 24. Oh, that's going to be an immense amount of food. That's almost 100 food a minute.
That's going to make sure that the Lancer spam feels a little bit easier when the boar eventually gets tapped out just a bit. But at the same time, I'm seeing 6 on wood. We are getting a good old feudal game in between here as well. Unless he's just going to pump out a few units and get the most value out of that boar. Make sure that the aggressive play keeps Beasty in his base. Because, of course, you want to allow your villagers to be out here on the map. And the only way to do so is to take control of the map. Because the moment Beasty starts producing anything, MarineLorD's going to have to move back if he tries to be greedy at all.
I managed to do the maths when I wasn't talking. It's in fact 84 food per minute from the meditation gardens. It is 6 per berry, and that is a total of 12 berries there. So it's pretty ludicrous. It's pretty ludicrous indeed.
And there we go, getting...
Fix off, damn it. Damn it, cow.
I love seeing how the barracks goes up next to the food every single time. So this is definitely going to be a very aggressive MarineLorD, taking as much control as he can. And I love this because you need to be in the driver's seat. You need to control the pace of the game. What's Beasty's response going to be? What is the unit he's going to be making first as well? And of course, you want to see an archery range as the natural response. But, you know, Palace Guards, they're going to take quite a few hits before they go down. And I love it. 3 of them already. He's just another one in queue. This man's going full Palace Guards, and I'm ready for it.
It might be Beasty that has the olive oil, but it's MarineLorD now who is cooking, and he's cooking with that pork that he's gathering indeed. As the Palace Guard are being supervised. 4 of them on the field already. The villager there is gonna play a crucial role in this strategy as the tower is on the menu for him. And Beasty, now the map is good for this, right? There's a wood line covering there, so he's gonna be able to get this tower up before MarineLorD is in position, and this is crucial. This is exactly what Beasty needs. Suddenly, this play from MarineLorD is kind of dead in the water.
And Beasty, getting that level of protection up that you need, you just need to be able to survive the Palace Guard pressure and for them not to take or do too much damage to this economy. And that's exactly what Beasty is able to do just here. And goes for the horseman first. So this feels like he's going to use that horse not to handle the Palace Guards, but rather just to go and disrupt MarineLorD's economy. Because he knows what a powerful Zushi could look like. And we see the horseman going straight for the villager here, the scout also wanting to help out a little bit. And we do see a little bit less of a punishment on the eyes now. As the villager is getting lower and lower, the scout gets a hit in as well, and the horseman will get the villager. Now, 1-1 villager kills.
Yeah, that's a very, very big one there for Beasty. A much needed pickup indeed. And the Palace Guards here, there will be no tower to deny the berries, and once the longbows are in, they'll be able to make quick work of these, but the food income is still a problem. That boar is still ongoing, and Beasty is in no position to challenge that whatsoever, despite a few horsemen. Soon enough, MarineLorD can look to pivot onto even Beasty's boar if he wants to keep up the pressure and protect it, and that's gonna just mean so much food for him. He's going to be able to go for a castle timing and upgrade these Palace Guards if he chooses to do so. That is the danger with these horsemen. Sure, you're able to get some map control for yourself here as Beasty and keep MarineLorD on edge, but ultimately, these units, when it comes to a fight, will be absolutely useless.
Now, we do see that cistern going down. It feels like you've got good value here, but you have to ask yourself, is Beasty going to be able to find some more? Getting another villager at the back here. Ooh, never mind. The horseman goes down, but the villager stays alive for a little while longer while he runs screaming back to the base, eventually going down. Now, MarineLorD here, he's still happily sitting on that boar. And this is something that Beasty is going to have to face a little bit later. This is a pretty tough spot for you to be in because you know that you are going to be the one that has less resources as the time goes on. But with the first pack of longbows, it does feel pretty good to be able to just tickle a palace guard that dares step too deep into your base. Horsemen providing that extra bit of mobility you would need so the palace guards don't feel safe enough to turn around on those longbows. And he's target firing one. He knows how important it is for every single kill to come on through. But MarineLorD, he realizes what this could cost him. He has 10 on gold right now, Maria. This man, he's not just thinking about palace guards.
He's thinking of a castle age as well. Because really, that's kind of the only option MarineLorD has in this position. He can't fight this in feudal age. The longbows will make quick work of not only the palace guards, but the Zuganu, if MarineLorD chooses to go for them as well. And Jushi, of course, has no access to regular archers, which is what you want against longbows as opposed to Zuganu. So it's not a possibility here for MarineLorD. And these palace guards, yes, they are faster men-at-arms, with extra health for that matter, but one less ranged armor, which is a big problem in this feudal age, especially against longbows for Beasty here. Already up to 10 at this point in time. The olive oil is still rolling in even now. Beasty finding the space now to even get himself some much needed upgrades. We have Expilatores coming through here for the horseman. That's going to be fantastic for raiding. With only a few kills, it's going to pay for itself. And wheelbarrow as well as double broadaxe on the way for him. The palace guard count though, looking pretty healthy here from MarineLorD, so Beasty has to be very careful not to overstep, but looks like he finds some value for these horsemen now. Plenty of idle time here. Good reactions by MarineLorD to pull them away there just in time, but the idle time still hurts in this position nonetheless, because every passing second that goes by, the game gets trickier and trickier for MarineLorD.
This is pretty fantastic to see that there's absolutely a way to deal with Zushi and this heavy pressure from him by just using mobility. And I feel like this says a lot about the meta. This is what we've been seeing in the meta, a lot more cavalry. MarineLorD getting a few spears in the mix is just what he needs to make sure that these horses don't get their value for free. Beasty now, 5 on gold here. He's getting some upgrades in the mix too. 10 longbows out already, and there's more than enough oil to get another pack in queue. Exactly what he clicks up now, but at the same time, the longbow's moving out on the map. It feels risky, because you're still up against 17 palace guards, and very soon, they're going to be Castle Age palace guards. With MarineLorD now getting a little bit more food in the bank, just waiting for that last drop-off of gold, and he should be ready to click up. But Beasty is out here on the map, and he could potentially punish this.
Yes, Beasty smells the danger and he knows he has to do something. He saw the 10 villagers on gold there and saw that there's no more palace guards actually coming out of those barracks that MarineLorD has. So he has to make some space between himself and MarineLorD here, between his base and MarineLorD's here, just to keep him on edge and buy himself the much needed time to age up. You see Beasty has now shifted heavily onto gold as well. The food is banking up behind this too. He has to be so careful here though, because these palace guard are faster than the longbows, and there's only 10 here still. Beasty could have overstepped severely here if he's not careful as the age up comes through. Veterancy for the palace guard is coming in. Looks like it's not... No, now it's getting supervised actually. And these longbows, they're in a horrible position, Mareka. If Beasty doesn't manage to screen with these horsemen effectively, he's going to lose everything here.
And that one single spearman did so much work in this whole thing, but the poor longbows are the sitting ducks. Beasty behind this, going for castle himself, and he tries to get the horsemen out. Tries to send them back to the base so that they can just be their constant pressure. You see him trying to pick off just a bit of a reinforcement. He wants to split MarineLorD's army. He knows the longbows are dead, but he needs to let the Byzantine eco do the work here. More spearmen, or these 2 spearmen, they're just doing so much work between all these palace guards. But now Golden Horn Tower has been clicked up, and I do see red dots all the way in Beasty's base, so it does mean that there's going to be quite a bit of idle time, especially on the gold here. The front gold now under siege, but luckily he's got a side one to fall back on.
Oh, but MarineLorD, his instinct is unparalleled here as he discovers the Golden Horn Tower as it's being built, only halfway done now. Even Akratoy cannot save Beasty in this position from losing so many villagers as the palace guards just completely surround the villas. Akratoy is activated. The villagers are doing significant damage, but so many of them are falling here. Horsemen are there to meet the palace guards as well. Longbows firing off from the backline. The palace guards will fall, but at a heavy price here for Beasty.
Beasty now at 10 villages lost. The Golden Horn Tower finally edging a little bit closer to castle, but MarineLorD's value has paid off. And you see him spending no more resources on these palace guards. He's doing his switch. He's doing a switch that he knows will work. And we all know what that looks like for Zushi. He just doesn't have the building to do so just yet. I was going to say, oh, never mind. He's like, never mind, palace guards. I do not have the wood for this. Let's just make more palace guards. They worked. They'll keep working. So Beasty remaking that scout he lost earlier as well. He knows the importance of this. This is going to be so critical. Now, the villagers, again, going to get a lot of idle time, and they take quite a bit of damage here, but the horses are in position to go and pick off what they can. Thing is, these horses are not going to be dealing with these Castle Age Palace guards too well. Longbows, though, doing good work with the veterans coming up.
Now the danger, the immediate danger at least, has been stemmed here by Beasty. The palace guards are now forced to retreat to the center as MarineLorD reconsolidates his food income with his day pack towards the left section of the sacred site, towards those hills at the front range. And Beasty, you see the cataphracts on the way. This is exactly what he needs, and getting out even just a few of them will make very quick work of these palace guards indeed. And once that number starts climbing, I mean, the Golden Horn Tower is now working as well. This is now Byzantines fully online. They had some chinks in their armor with those villager kills that MarineLorD managed to get, but the reality is, similarly to the Malians, you need to do a lot more damage if you are to stop the flood that is coming for you. With those longbows, with those cataphracts as well, MarineLorD, he knows he can no longer look for a direct engagement. Even just 1 or 2 cataphracts alongside those veteran longbows will make very quick work of these palace guards. So he has to find these extra angles to attack. He discovers the vills on the berries, doesn't manage to kill any, but idle time has been caused. The deer is idle as well. He's going to pick up a house at the same time, manage to distract on the left side, allowing him the space to do so.
Now, this is a weird part of the game where you're kind of desperate for gold. Your second gold is getting a little low and another villager going down. But you have to start thinking about getting out on the map and getting on those external golds as well. But the problem is, MarineLorD is really good at raiding. We saw this in his Malians game. We can see it in this game. This man is the man in control of the map, and everyone else just has to fall behind and see what he allows you to get. Now, those palace guards are on every corner. We just see a lone one here coming to the back of the wood line. MarineLorD knows the value of sacrificing these while the lancers are joining the army. Now, Beasty does have 1 relic already, but 1 relic by this point does not feel as good as you need it to be. MarineLorD, though, he's not thinking about those at all.
Yes, these lancers here are exactly the switch that MarineLorD needs, but now that they've been revealed, the count, getting that count to a good number in order to challenge these cataphracts is easier said than done, as food is starting to run out on the map for MarineLorD as well. He has good income for now, but this is limited, and he doesn't have the free units that Beasty has, courtesy of that olive oil and the Golden Horn Tower. Free indeed from the Golden Horn Tower. Not even olive oil needs to be spent on them. And Beasty, the horseman, managed to squeeze past the lancers and evade them, and now has the whole contingent going behind MarineLorD's base. This could be a big catch if he discovers those villages on the gold, but the gold runs out right then. Does MarineLorD see this monk? And he does. The relic is going to get dropped alongside that corpse.
And this is an interesting position to be in, because Beasty's read this. He's been like, okay, great, I am going to get raided. We've seen this play out in the past game. We've seen this play out already. But he wasn't fast enough to wall up, and now will most likely have to pay the price yet again. The lancers are in position. The villagers are nowhere near backing off. And Beasty doesn't notice this. He's going to get a full surround, Myriad, and another bunch of villagers will fall. But luckily, the army is almost in position. At the same time, MarineLorD loves his two-prong attacks. He's coming from both sides and making it land every single time.
Again, significant damage dealt to Beasty there, and 5 additional villagers have fallen, and MarineLorD escapes with most of the Lancers left unharmed. A couple of them are quite battered, but definitely a worth it trade there for him. And the numbers, now the Lancers, we mentioned earlier, the numbers wasn't too impressive compared to the Cataphracts, but now it's more than double, and this is where it can start getting quite scary for Beasty, who has not put respect on them yet, which, you know, technically he doesn't need to. Enough Cataphracts should beat the Lancers, even if they have the Dali Horse's attack speed upgrade, as long as they're backed up by the longbows, and even a couple of Lance Connects can make a big difference there. But all this food income is starting to be quite worrisome. MarineLorD even ends up banking a lot of it here, struggling instead on the gold as opposed to the food. We have a little raid coming there as well. We can have a look at that. Looks like Beasty did manage to pick up maybe 1 or 2 villager kills. Good value for these horsemen, especially because of the Expilatores, giving him additional gold.
Now, this might seem like MarineLorD's struggling with the gold, but you have to keep in mind, this man, he's got a lot more units out here that has been sacrificed to do the damage, the eco damage he needed to do. And luckily, with the Byzantines, you do have that bit of an eco boost with all the cisterns. But right now, MarineLorD is the one going for his Shaolin Monastery as well. So getting into that next dynasty between all of this at the same time, while the attacks are landing, Beasty is the one struggling to just stay up to level here with that income. The food is getting spent, every last drop of it. And that's implied with the oil puns in there, because this man, he needs to get that longbow mass up. Problem is just, you're up against 20 Lancers. Longbows are going to struggle quite a bit.
Yes, with the Yuan dynasty now in tow for MarineLorD, a few things are on the menu for him. Much cheaper units, indeed, is one of them for him, as well as pagodas can be built, which will give him a tremendous amount of income from the relics, and he has the perfect count for it. A maximum of 3 pagodas can be built, and there's 3 relics in MarineLorD's control. So that's going to expedite his income immensely. Exactly what he needs at this point in time, because the Lancer number just keeps climbing. But Beasty is starting to worry about it, right? We see the crossbows now being mixed in. One Cataphract is going to find an Imperial official there. Nice little pickup for Beasty. Of course, Yoshi does not have the Imperial Academy, so killing an Imperial official is a full economic kill. He can't reproduce that easily from the Imperial Academy, as he does not have it.
Now, Beasty's composition here is going to struggle against this engagement if it takes place right now. But if MarineLorD gives him time, and guys, we see those farms getting built. The problem is just, what I notice against MarineLorD, Beasty is just not walling against them. And he knows that there are raids that are constantly going to be coming in here. He's trying to move into that spot where the raids might land. He does get another villager kill, but there's still a 9 villager lead here for MarineLorD. And this doesn't feel too bad for the man. He's probably pretty happy with where he is right now. 6 more Lancers in queue. He says morelancers.com, Cataphracts running around, trying to just be ready for that punch. But Beasty's economy is going to slowly get a lot better. We know with all those farms at the back, this is going to mean the oil is going to feel pretty good. So on top of all the income, we can see 400 oil per minute also coming in, which means about a bunch of longbows every minute.
A lot of longbows indeed, and the crossbow number is starting to look really healthy here for Beasty too. Now the Lancer count is actually very scary here for MarineLorD, granted, so I'm not sure whether a third of the crossbow, well, half the crossbows is actually necessary. And Beasty looking to push in the center here on that ball, and he needs to do so, but now he gets the bad news as a massive wave of Lancers comes around the backside. The crossbows are left exposed, but there's not enough Cataphracts to actually stem the tide. Even Painting's getting activated, but it's not going to do much in this position. This is a complete wipe here from MarineLorD. The perfect engagement necessary here. The Cataphracts, though, they do charge through, and they certainly pack a punch. They're going to look to salvage what they can of this backline. Still a lot of Lancers falling like flies here, but Beasty's army is also left in tatters. It looks like it looked amazing there for MarineLorD for a second, but as soon as these Cataphracts connected, the Lancers started falling so quickly. And honestly, I don't think this was enough for MarineLorD.
Yes, with Byzantine's economy, usually you don't mind a little bit of losses because you do get so many units for free. And as I see more farms coming up, I can see that MarineLorD is going to struggle eventually. The Lancer numbers, he says more Lancers, more Lancers, and more Lancers. And that's exactly what we're getting here. But with those cataphracts, the trade actually went pretty well. Beasty now getting more longbows, and longbows are doing fine against most units, but not against these catas. For me, it just felt like they were cannon fodder in this last matchup. Now, is this going to be enough? Well, MarineLorD believes it is, just making more Lancers all the way. So, Beasty now getting more and more crossbows, but not investing in any limited A. Apparently, cataphracts are the front line of the future.
Did I must have been seeing things, but did I see that right? That there was no Dali horses in that fight? Because that would be a big reason as to why that went wrong. I'm not sure. I think he got it after, but maybe it was a different upgrade that I saw just finishing. I just don't know. We can't quite look to confirm at this point in time. I will check later. But yeah, I mean, that fight, it was just insane. I don't know what to say. Like, MarineLorD looked in prime position to just wipe everything there, but it just goes to show cataphracts are a different beast entirely. And they certainly proved to do so there. MarineLorD still relying on these lancers, still remassing them very healthily, but again, the crossbow count is there as it was before, and the cataphract count is there as it was before, and now there's no palace guards either for MarineLorD. Now he could try to take the fight again, and he does have Dali horses this time, but I don't think he's probably going to go even worse than it did last time here for him, but he can't play the long game here. He has to make this work.
And now palings finally get a chance to be set up, and the longbows not needing to move. Those palings are going to be amazing against these horses, but we do get that surround, and MarineLorD needs to win this fight because the Byzantine economy is about to run away with him with that food depleting all around the map. Cataphracts cleaning up the longbow numbers. It just doesn't feel like they're dropping, but the crossbows are doing work. 12 crossbows on the field, and apparently that's enough to deal with all these Dali horses. There's a lot of bodies on the floor, but only one of them is going to be able to replace them. Zhangyan Tower now coming up and getting... This is going to be Song Dynasty, right? What is the bonus for Zushi going into this?
Jushu Song Dynasty gives them a pretty hefty discount. I don't know the exact number. I think it's 15 or 20% discount on those farms, as well as granaries, as well as gathering buildings, any kind of economic building. 30%, we get confirmation. Thank you, Cal. 30% discount on all economic buildings for Jushi, which is going to make their farm transition very, very smooth indeed. And this is the way you want to do it with Jushi. You want to go into that yuan first, ideally, get those pagodas pumping early, and then you go make your farm transition in Song, which you do still need to get those granaries. So, although technically you can skip it, you really want that granary boost, that's for sure.
And this is the time of the game where you need to do your farm transition. Beasty is done with his farm transition. We can see 1.5k food per minute, and this is from farms. MarineLorD is still out on external resources. There's no farming eco behind this. So sure, MarineLorD has the relics and his pagodas. He's getting great value from those. But this feels pretty good for the Byzantines right now. Beasty still just doesn't have that confidence to move out with his composition, now adding in some limit in A. This makes a lot of sense. You have been dealing with these lancers pretty well, but with crossbows. And now there's a little bit of a switch here with the horseman mass coming on out, as MarineLorD knows that the gold will eventually run out on all of these resources. The horsemen now running around trying to look for a bit of damage here. And honestly, if they got into the farms, it could be quite devastating. Beasty doesn't have a lot of defenses out here.
Yes, raiding kind of has to be the name of the game here for MarineLorD. He tried twice to take a winning fight, which, you know, it looked like he could potentially win either of those fights, but he just didn't. So I think he's sick of trying at this point in time. Beasty does discover this little horseman run by. He's going to pick up most of them as they enter the olive grove fields here. So no real threat for Beasty. Might just lose one villager, but no big loss here for him. Definitely worth it to kill what was, like 7-8 horsemen? That's definitely not worth it for MarineLorD. Decap comes through here as well by Beasty. The lone cataphract doing work and uncapping that sacred site. Rum Beasty, with a run-by of his own, idles out the wood line, but the Lancers are there to meet the cataphracts. This could be a lot of cataphracts to throw away for just some idle time here. Beasty does have to be very careful, but there's an opening in the north there, and he has vision with those abandoned outposts that MarineLorD did not take.
Even with map control, surprisingly. Oh, but Nest of Bees now added to the party. The Limitanei are going to get right on top of it. And are they going to be able to get this connection? It seems like the Limitanei are just bracing. They're getting right ready for these horses. Lots of horses taking a lot of damage. But it doesn't seem like this is going to be enough. And the Nest of Bees will stay alive. And more are on the way. Beasty now has to respond to this Nest of Bees play. Because with his army, he's got those 6 katas, but he doesn't have the mobility to actually go on through and get on those types of backlines. These horseman raids, though, they are feeling so thin, but this is what MarineLorD's believing in. He's using every bit of resource he can find on this map to just make more horses. But the income per minute difference, it's telling a very scary story for MarineLorD right now.
It definitely is. This is peak Byzantines at this point in time. The olive oil is pumping, the groves are set up, Golden Horn Tower is just producing non-stop for the entirety of the game. The army is just absolutely in tow to make a grand push here towards MarineLorD's base. As soon as that defensive infrastructure is cut down by the trebuchet, 45 longbows, 50 now, alongside 30 crossbows. There's very little frontline here for Beasty, but even with full cavalry here from MarineLorD, just the sheer firepower is immense from Beasty here. The Nest of Bees can potentially make quick work of that, but, you know, with the Limitanei as well, there's going to be very little opening for this cavalry from MarineLorD, and now we see that food income stagnate drastically for him. With Song Dynasty, he's going to get his own farm transition happening now, but it's a long way off from being fruitful.
Now, Beasty is getting those trebuchets to handle these towers, because as we saw, these towers have not been responding to the ram play too much. So getting a trebuchet in here makes a lot of sense. You want to eventually start creeping forward, getting control of these sacred sites when you know that your economy is the one that is ahead. But you have to see, Beasty is max pop. MarineLorD is very much struggling to meet that. And this means that Beasty is now going to start getting a lot more resources in the bank to be able to replace this army. The Nest of Bees, they might be good, but 55 longbows. A longbow might not counter a Nest of Bees, but 55 definitely does.
You see now, moving in position. I guess he just needed one of the towers gone to actually start moving up. With the second one, he has little fear. Nest of Bees shooting a bunch of rockets there and managed to make space for another one to come out. Up to a total of 5 now. 2 more in queue as well. And this is no way. Is MarineLorD going imp with 5 villages on food?
He is definitely doing so. But Zushi, what do they get from going Imperial in this scenario? It doesn't feel like this gives him an answer to handle Beasty. Right now, MarineLorD, he needs these resources to make units, not to get the Temple of the Sun. So Imperial Age comes in, but this is going to be really, really expensive. He doesn't have the farming eco to sustain an Imperial economy. This is going to make sure that the Nest of Bees maybe hit a little further, but this is not what the answer is to this massive army of Beasty.
Does he even have a single farm, is what I want to see. Maybe we can do a quick scan of the base. Okay, well, okay, he has 9 farms. We're okay, you know. It's fine to go imp here. In fact, it's incredible that he even manages to get the food together for this, but here we go anyway. And we can see additional barrels coming through, as well as elite status on the Lancers. There might be a timing here to do something for MarineLorD. I mean, he needs it desperately. But with the Fortune Engineering Company already on the way here for Beasty, and he's in such an entrenched position here. Granted, there's very little to answer these Nest of Bees, and additional barrels can absolutely melt his army if he's not careful, as they're about to do these trebuchets. MarineLorD.
Oh, but that... He wants to go in, Marianne. This man is ready for it. Well, the Nest of Bees, they are creeping forward, but they're also creeping forward at a position where the longbows could potentially make a little turn, but Beasty's longbows get told, hey, these guys are actually made to counter you. So let's just keep this safe. With the Foreign Engineering Company now being done, he's instantly going to try and get those upgrades for all those longbows. But the problem is, he doesn't have the gold for all of this.
No, he does not. Gold is definitely the bottleneck on this map for so many civilizations. As it is now for Beasty, he has enough for the veterancy on the longbows, but longbows is not what's gonna deal with these nested bees, if we're being completely honest. And I mean, we saw how effective the Manganiques were last game. Well, these guys are Manganiques on steroids at this rate. Additional range coming from the Temple of the Sun on these nested bees as well. So even though longbows have the superior range, I'm not sure that's the case anymore. They might be very close at this point in time. Beasty looking to make a grand concave here. Exactly what he needs. He needs to completely envelop these nested bees. Up to 12 now, MarineLorD is. But is it actually enough? Because the Limitane are in position. They aren't elite yet, I don't believe. But look at the fire. Hellfire from MarineLorD massacring the backline here from Beasty. But the Lancers are also falling so quickly. There's going to be very little left to actually defend these nested bees still. But there's no more Limitane.
There's no Limitane, but the amount of longbows are still going to be enough to handle horses, just not lancers. Now, we do have 2 cannons out here, so Beasty is going to try to snipe these guys, but I think he just learned a very valuable lesson. MarineLorD's not going to go down without really giving it his all. MarineLorD was behind, I would say significantly, for a second there, but those nested bees, and this is why, Maria, this is why we don't always understand why MarineLorD's going Imperial, but my goodness, does he understand what he's doing. He read this exactly right. He knew what the nested bees bonus is going to give him, and it really mattered. Oh, those cannons are firing all the way from China into Zushi base. Disgusting. But they are a little bit far forward here, and the nested bees creeping forward is also going to be a little bit of a worry here for those longbows who just want to snipe out these horses. But 2 scouts coming in for Beasty. He's like, I have the population space right now. Let's just make it work. And with 3 cannons, he should be able to handle 1 nested bee at a time. But you can see that keep looks like it's made of paper with this. MarineLorD responding with his cannon of his own.
Yeah, these royal cannons are not to be underestimated. I think 3 of them might be enough to just one-shot one of these nested bees if they fire together. And that is a tough one for MarineLorD to deal with. He's getting his own bombards now. Yeah, just enough. There we see it. 1 goes down. He's getting his own bombards, but the bombards are just strictly worse than these cannons. Less range as well in comparison. And yeah, this is where the struggle starts. The horsemen start getting mixed in by Beasty as well. More Limitani to meet the Lancers, but Beasty starting a little bit there with control. His army wasn't fully engaged in that fight. He has to be very careful with how far he steps up here. This could be intentional, actually, not wanting to give any room for the nested beast to gain value here. And the cannons with that special shot ability, I don't remember what it's actually called. They can fire even in the fog of war up onto artillery shot. There we go. Additional 5 tiles of range and 30% more damage against buildings.
That's disgusting, Maria. That's absolutely disgusting. That's a lot of range.
That's pretty good.
Now, MarineLorD still believes in this nest of bees, though. So he's still investing all of this into the nest of bees. A few more Lancers in the queue as well. But Streltsy coming in here. And honestly, I know this is not on purpose. This is just from the natural units coming on out. But this feels like a nice little bonus to deal with all of these horses. He does take down the keep, but he does have a Sacred Side timer ticking towards him. And this is something to consider. MarineLorD, he was probably traumatized by this the last game. Beasty, the man who walked away with a little bit more trauma than MarineLorD after losing it with 4 seconds. So now these cannons are going to need to clean up everything that MarineLorD tries to get up here. And that's exactly what happens. We do see everything slowly being cleaned up. MarineLorD now getting a few more cannons, and Limitane finally going to decap that site. This is not going to be the same heavy push that we saw from the last game.
Yeah, holding the Sacred Site here. Definitely a tougher ordeal than MarineLorD would have liked, as it's going to get decapped without a doubt. Beasty consolidating his position now in the center. MarineLorD has fixed his food income now. We earlier saw a glimpse of those granary fields. They are fruitful indeed, looking very, very good here for him. But in this late game, just the matchup I don't think favors MarineLorD here. He's playing this the correct way. He has the mass siege ball, but the problem is these cannons. There's no better siege engine besides the Great Bombard potentially up in this late game. They do so much damage, have great range, no setup speed either, so they will shoot first before those bombards. MarineLorD struggling to find an answer here to how to deal with this beastie composition from the Byzantines. I mean, the bombards, there is no Jushi's library, so there is no cloud of terror for these bombards, which would be great against the units, but it's not going to make a big difference against these cannons. So how is he going to look to turn the tide back in his favor here?
Now, with MarineLorD, you can see he's reading this pretty well. He knows I need to take a fight and I need to win this fight. He underestimates that understands that maybe he's not going to be the one who's going to get enough of an army together for this just yet, so he needs to delay Beastie's push. And by just raiding and getting his horses on every angle of the map, he's able to do so. So he finds a way to try and keep Beastie at bay by just being the aggressor. Beastie with a slow push, it does feel a little bit risky. We do see the cannons, they're a little bit far forward. Nesta Bees could be firing on this front line pretty easily, but the cannons turn around and don't get any heavy shots through. Only one Nesta Bees taking a bit of damage here. But MarineLorD realizes, I can't just keep taking trades. Beastie is the one with the better economy. He is the Byzantines. He's got 5 cisterns, and you can see that graph for MarineLorD for score looking very much in his favor, but I don't think score is telling us the right story of what's happening here.
Definitely not. Jushi and China often have an inflated score due to them having additional landmarks. Landmarks give a lot of score, so... I mean, MarineLorD is definitely not in a horrible position here. He has an incredible army. 50 Dali horses, lancers now on the field, as well as plenty of siege, but... Beastie has a couple of strokes on the field now as well. He might look to start actively producing those. Would certainly be prudent up against MarineLorD's composition here. But plenty of Limitane as well. And now we have elite infantry tactics coming in as well. Do we have biology for MarineLorD? I'm not quite sure yet. That could be a significant detail here. That we do. Indeed, we have it. Now, with the Dialecticus, that elite infantry tactics is coming in very quickly here for Beastie, but he's going to be forced to engage before it, as the bombards are going to shoot back onto the cannons who respond in turn, but the siege advantage is clear here for Beastie from the long range at least. But when those Nesta Bees start firing, the matter changes entirely, as the lancers are melting here at the front line up against the Limitane. The Limitane are falling rapidly as well, but not at the rate that MarineLorD would like, as the bombards fall. Only one left, and look at the Nesta Bees count. Barely any are left, down from, I think it was 7, now down to just 2. MarineLorD is looking harder and harder. He's on his last legs.
MarineLorD was giving that his all, but he recognizes, okay, I'm not giving up. We're going to keep taking these trades. Beastie probably is running out of resources. Right, chat? But at the same time, yes, the gold income doesn't look too great for Beastie, but the problem is, he's got liquid gold, ladies and gentlemen, and olive oil is the currency that we're trading in here. These real cannons are just burning through everything. Poor farms. They're just getting deleted. Oh my goodness, Marianne. Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Stop.
Stop. The frontline farms. No, not the stable. Go back to the farm. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Even the granary. I like how they just one-shot it. Like, damn. One of those cannonballs just completely raises a whole field of rice there.
Oh, poor guy. Oh, those cannons. Come on, guys. Now they have nowhere to drop off. The keep's next, boys, but that keep... It looks like a tower, Mariette. That thing is just falling apart, in shambles right now, but MarineLorD says this is not it. One last fight, getting the Huguenot now. But I believe these are feudal age Huguenot. Soon to be upgraded, I hope. But those look like very feudal age ones to me. Oh, never mind. Here they go. The Imperial upgrade just did. They look like crossbows there in the mini, on the UI there.
Yeah, it's even harder to tell when you're actually looking at them in game. Problem is here, I mean, you know, Jushi's Huguenot, fully upgraded in the late game, are an absolute menace, even up against longbows. The problem is, we're in Song Dynasty, not Ming Dynasty, so we do not have access to Jushi's library to get the 1000 bolt upgrade, and that is what makes these Huguenot so oppressive. And I don't see MarineLorD scrounging up the economy to go for a Ming Dynasty here, as well as the upgrade on top of that. Alongside incendiary arrows, there's barely enough resources on the map at this point in time for that, I think. So he's going to be hard-pressed to make this switch work. Now, the longbow count is pretty thinned out, granted, and Beastie is just mainly working with Limitane here. which is exactly what the Zuganu will do very well against, but it might be too little too late here. But looks like MarineLorD has one last hurrah left in him.
Now, MarineLorD did get to that max pop, and Beasty needs to keep in mind he doesn't have any gold income. MarineLorD's the one who's still got them taxes. He still has a few gold mines under his control. But Beasty's the one with the unit mass, and this is going to start to feel really, really tough if enough goes down. But it's just a bunch of Limitanei facing off against the Zuganu mass, and honestly, it's okay. Up until now, you can see the Lancers, they're looking for a way to get all the way through, to get on that back line, but the Limitanei numbers, they are able to close in when needed. Longbow's doing quite a bit of work here, but MarineLorD is on his last legs.
Indeed he is, and Incendiaries is on the way, but it's not being supervised. You can see just how slow it is, but honestly, I don't even know if it would be enough here, frankly, because we don't have 10,000 bolts either behind this, and the cannons are just doing so much damage. Raid coming in from MarineLorD as well, just to distract Beasty, keep him on edge here, not fully focused on this relentless frontal assault. MarineLorD doing an excellent job in kiting here, picking off so many Limitanei, but these are just dirt cheap for Beasty to produce at this point in time. Still 73 on the field. Beasty is still closer to that 200 pop mark than MarineLorD is at this point in time. As I say that though, that switches around. And the main TC ends up falling here. Even a landmark victory might be on the cards here for Beasty. 3 out of 6. The push has stalled though. I mean, Beasty has to remass into a better army to deal with the Zuganu for now, so MarineLorD does buy himself plenty of needed time. That's exactly what he was going for there, and succeeds in doing so, but is it enough time?
I love these walls. The walls just showing us this is why and how we're going to defend our cannons, but they do need to pull back. This is starting to get very dangerous. Beasty is not able to replace this mass just yet. We see quite a few units in queue, but these raids have been so effective. MarineLorD showing us it might look like he's dead, but it's never really over. When you are MarineLorD, you find a way, and these raids are absolutely devastating for the Lancers, but as the bodies hit the floor, the cannons, though, they're very far forward. And is this the moment Beasty loses just enough focus to lose this very steep advantage he just had?
Yeah, the cannons are in danger, but most of the Lancers were raiding, and there's Limitanei there to stem the tide of any further Lancers, as well as plenty of defensive infrastructure here for Beasty. A lot of vision with those flanking towers, as well as a fortified tower belongs alongside that keep there on the sacred site. So a good position there for Beasty. Not one MarineLorD can break anytime soon, and this will give Beasty the time needed to remass, but plenty of economic damage has been done by MarineLorD. But Beasty, with his own STBs that also has additional barrels, means that MarineLorD has to be very careful about where he steps with these Zuganu, who are now actually trapped, as that wall is Beasty's, and MarineLorD can't break through because he doesn't have many melee units. MarineLorD is forced to take a fight here. Very messy one at that. The Lancers dive onto the Nester Bees. One goes down, but there's too much here. The cannons, the Nester Bees. There's no more frontline here for MarineLorD. That wall was so clutch there by Beasty. MarineLorD overextended, just as Beasty had done moments prior.
And now, even though MarineLorD had killed 56 villagers on Beasty's side, it is just not enough to actually secure this. I saw Beasty's food there being at 0 for a while. It just shows you every single grain of food that gets delivered gets spent. And now a forward tower being placed here as well. Beasty knows the weakness of MarineLorD's army is dealing with AoE shots, and Mangonel shots do exactly that. We see that that TC from MarineLorD being rebuilt already. So with a lot of wood in his arsenal, he should be able to build as many farms as he needs, but he's also struggling a little bit on the gold. You're getting to the point in the game, the gold's tapped out, you're surviving on taxes, and Beasty just doesn't need the gold the way MarineLorD does.
That's true. Beasty's trash army, so to call it, non-gold army, is just vastly superior here to MarineLorD. MarineLorD even needs gold to produce Zuganu, for that matter, which normally taxes can do that in and of themselves, but there's very little buildings left to tax here for MarineLorD, as he's really struggling to keep up in population here. Despite all his raids, despite all his efforts, Beasty stands firm. And now with these Nester Bees, there's very little left for MarineLorD to answer this. The Limitane, I mean, Beasty can just make nothing but Limitane at this stage and spend all his olive oil on Siege, and that's going to be a tremendously effective composition for him. Once again, this TCE that had been rebuilt is going to go down yet again. Landmark victory approaching once more for Beasty. 3 out of 6 momentarily here as the TC will end up falling. And here we go, MarineLorD decides to go for it. He cannot wait any longer. There is no more hope if he waits, so he has to go against all odds here, as good spread on the Zugunu means they find plenty of damage on the Limitane, but the Lancers die very quickly due to their limited count, and that is enough there for Beasty to close out the game and tie up the series here 1-1.
Ooh, and these two, the Battle of Giants, feels pretty scary both ways. MarineLorD, I feel like the amount of damage he did should have been game winning for him, but Beasty climbing back like a cockroach, holding on for dear life. But then the opposite thing happened. He cleaned up MarineLorD's army and he just kept pushing. But MarineLorD cockroached himself back into it. This is truly the two greats fighting against each other.
This is exactly the kind of entertainment we expected from these two, and they are delivering, no doubt about that. The graphs tell quite a back and forth tale here indeed. The military value lead there for MarineLorD has been so vastly ahead for so long due to that premium composition, but against 3 units, against such a strong economy and absolutely divine patience shown here by Beasty as well, understanding the weakness of his composition in comparison to MarineLorD's in these open fields, he just inched his way further and further up the map, not getting too greedy, not getting too impatient, just knowing exactly when to back off and when to go further, except for just a couple of hiccups here and there. But at this level, of course, it's so difficult to be perfect all the time. I mean, well, it's impossible to be perfect all the time, let's be honest. And in the end, it worked out exactly as he needed it to. As in a long slugfest, he emerges on top here.
Now, will he emerge on top with the next one, as we see Hillendale coming on up? And honestly, I love myself a good Hillendale. Hillendale is just a map that we played all the way back from Season 1. You guys know, back in my day, this was a main map, and we just saw Mongols in this. But we also saw a little bit of Delhi. And Delhi was quite scary on a map like this. But now you also have Macedonians joining the ranks of scary civilizations. And MarineLorD getting Macedonians, this is pretty tough for Beasty, especially considering that those Radari, people just haven't found an answer for it just yet. So is this going to be the map that the old Civ reigns supreme, or will Macedonians show us how to play this thing properly?
It's a very interesting matchup. I don't know if we've even seen this yet in EGC. I've encountered it before, but I don't think we've seen it actually on stage here just yet. So it's very exciting to see. Beasty actually putting more respect on MarineLorD's French than Macedonian in this case, sniping them out, and MarineLorD, understandably so, sniping out the Sengoku from Beasty, leaving him with Delhi here. And Macedonian, yeah, it's a civilization, isn't it? Without a doubt. They have some absolutely ridiculous bonuses. That silver, similarly with the Byzantines, turns out that a 5th resource is, yeah, it's pretty good. And MarineLorD is going to show exactly why here, or at least attempt to, as we load into game number 3 here in this very tight series so far indeed, as MarineLorD, the color red, as the Macedonian dynasty, opening on the day with the Varangian war camp in the north side of Hillendale, and his opponent, the one and only Beasty, in the color yellow, as the Delhi Sultanate, one of his signature civilizations, I would say, also opting for the day here in the south. Matchup here is MarineLorD actually going to fight feudal, or is he just going to go castle age?
See, this is an interesting situation, because the war camp, this is what I recently found out. And I don't know if Twitch chat, if you guys know how the war camp works as well, but you can save that war camp a little bit to ensure that when you build it, the units pop out pretty fast, from what I know. Which tells me that if you build it early, you're trying to utilize it early. But this could just be because we haven't seen a lot of the civilization. Maybe players are just making it standard because it costs the same as a house, and you're instantly getting that early value. But MarineLorD is not someone who will let Delhi get to the state of the game where they flourish, where the elephants start doing the talking, because this might just be the answer against all those Radaris that we have been seeing coming in at the speed of light. So honestly, I can imagine MarineLorD just using the most of his civilization and pushing it out in feudal. Because with those upgrades you get with the Macedonian dynasty, a lot of civilizations struggle to actually handle what they have on offer in that feudal age.
Exactly right. Speaking of the war camp, though, it's interesting because I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's simply just an objective mistake to actually build the war camp as your first house, due to it costing more building time than a regular house. And ultimately, you know, unless you actually lose villagers or something in the Dark Age, there's no real value being gained from it. Only once you actually lose units do you start accruing the value to get some units for free back later on. So you're just delaying your age up by, at best, maybe a couple of seconds. So it really isn't that significant, but it just goes to show that it's kind of an objective reality that should probably start with a house instead and make the war camp the second or third house for that matter. But when it comes to feudal age here, now this is where things get very interesting, because of course Delhi has access to the Ghazi Raider. +2 damage up against heavy units, and naturally something like the Varangian Guard is a heavy unit, but they're not just any heavy unit. They're a feudal man-at-arms that exchanges some of its ranged armor for additional melee armor instead, which might be exactly what they need against something like the Ghazi Raider. Now, as to how that plays out in a full committed feudal, especially when it comes to those nuanced silver income timings, which can make a very big difference indeed, I have yet to see on full display, so I'm quite curious to see how it will go in that regard. Imperial Hippodrome on the way with 3 for MarineLorD's Macedonian, no surprises there, and Dome of the Faith on the other hand for Beasty here. Wheelbarrow, whilst age up for MarineLorD, does tend to indicate more of a lean towards a feudal committal, especially with that lumber camp as well. Typically, if you want to go fast castle, you'll use the straggler trees first to not commit fully the wood to the lumber camp just yet. So, looks like we're going to have some ooga booga on our hands.
No, with MarineLorD civilization, there's one thing that I'm very scared by, and that's just the value you get from that landmark in the early game. Beasty, he's gonna be able to make those Ghazis, try to find some exchangeable trades, because for him, this is about just outdoing his opponent, and he needs to be a lot better than MarineLorD in this matchup, I feel like. Now, Horsemen already queued up, but there's one difference for the Delhi. Once they attack, they can go back and heal. Although Macedonians, with the champions, they are able to do something similar in a way. So MarineLorD is going to be able to be a little bit sneakier than usual civilizations against the Delhi. 2 Ghazi Raiders already in queue, but the value from this landmark is wild, and I can't wait to see how MarineLorD uses it. Beasty, with his 3 on gold, just securing that scholar production early on. He's going to need to produce a ton of Ghazis to keep control of this, though, because the horsemen, they just keep coming, and our first champion has just hit the land. Now, where does MarineLorD strike first?
Yeah, you're very correct here. Undoubtedly need a lot of Ghazis here, because it's easy to forget. Not many people know this, but regular horsemen, just your run-of-the-mill horsemen, actually beat Ghazi Raiders cost for cost, and the Macedonian dynasty here for MarineLorD, with the silver already coming in and the first armor technology for the horsemen on the way, +1 of each, as well as 5% health. And these horsemen, soon enough, with the Hippodrome champion, well, the Hippodrome horseman champion, is going to have additional +2 damage, so his horsemen will just be way better than these Ghazi Raiders. Already the damage is piling up. He has to be so careful here to not lose them. The Ghazi Raiders are also slower than these horsemen, so he has to be very, very careful of where he goes with them. But all of these factors means that Beasty, when it comes to cavalry on cavalry, I don't think that's a fight that he's going to win.
Now, this might be the case, but Beasty can keep taking trades and just heal up the low HP Ghazis. And this feels like something that Beasty might be considering here. The Ghazi numbers are quite extensive. Now, MarineLorD, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this unit's name. I'm going to call this thing a Spearman, as God had intended us to call them. So these spears coming out from MarineLorD, they are going to be quite deadly if Beasty loses focus. But Beasty, he is going straight for one type of kill, and that's the building, apparently.
Yeah, the frontal Varangian camp there, stronghold rather, I should say. It's going to be a bit of a thorn in MarineLorD's side at this point in time. There's not Germathel, I believe it's pronounced, do correct me if I'm wrong, is going to get picked off there by the Ghazi Raiders, so that's going to be a problem there for him initially. You really want to be careful with dropping any kind of units, even something as lowly as a Spearman at this stage, because, you know, against a very military tempo-based civilization like the Delhi Sultanate, as that sacred site is starting to get captured, these numbers really add up quickly against you if you start losing them. So, MarineLorD now stuck in his base just a little bit, even putting up some respect walls rather early here. I mean, good value there, to be fair. Deer as well as berries secured. That's definitely a good value wall to get up.
And Beasty is doing something that I love to see from Delhi players. He is actually pushing into the base of the opponent while he's trying to cap these sacred sites. Because what Delhi's weakness is usually being able to shut down when these scholars are being a little bit of a greedy goose and just moving on out. Now, the horse raiding groups are in a bit of danger, but a scholar does go down, and he will be able to smack a few of these. But like you said, they're just going to run away pretty easily. Horsemen just leaving dust in the eyes of the Ghazis. They do get a nice little charge in here and catch up for a bit, but it's not going to be enough to take these down. He does cap one of the sacred sites, and 2 of them get denied.
Denial of the sacred sites is quite good here by MarineLorD, means that only the central one will be allowed to be under Beasty's control here. But the mobility is starting to be a struggle here for MarineLorD because of his mixed composition. He could have, in theory, just stuck with making nothing but horsemen up against the Ghazis and potentially win out, but he might be worried about the scholar healing that could come in clutch when it comes to a pitched fight, and that might definitely turn the tide into Beasty's favor yet again. But with the Atkermather coming in here in the center, looks like MarineLorD makes his timing to go contest directly, and there's no secondary unit from Beasty yet. Only now archers are starting to hit the field, so, and I don't think they'll be here in time to actually stop this site, although the Ghazi mass is looking huge.
Ghazi numbers are scary, but with the amount of spears we see here from MarineLorD, he is doing a pretty good job at dealing with them. Ghazi extending here quite a bit now. They do get 2 kills without with losing a single horse. A horse does go down, ladies and gentlemen. So the trade has been made. But you can see Beasty, he wants to use this movement speed to his advantage. And he is able to do so, but I feel like he's bled quite a bit of scholars here with all of these horsemen just being so able to raid in every spot. The problem is, there is a big boy unit on his way, and he's next in line. That Radari might turn things a little bit on its head. We can see it almost being ready to pop out there with the horseman mass here. This could be quite devastating for Beasty. The archer numbers increasing, but it's not the number we need just yet to handle those of MarineLorD.
Indeed, the Hippodrome champion. It's absolutely disgusting, that unit. I'm not going to mince words about it. And it is indeed on the way here for MarineLorD. And with the infantry mass he has, additional movement speed on that infantry can become very clutchy indeed up against fast units like the Ghazi Raiders. It means that with the charge, they can potentially even catch up to fleeing Ghazi Raiders, similarly as how HRE infantry can do. I don't know exactly how much the attack speed is from the Radari champion, but we will find out soon enough here. Archer count climbing quite nicely here for Beasty. He already has his stewed arrow in, so they're going to do good damage against these horsemen. Here he comes, the Hippodrome Radari alongside the army here for MarineLorD. This is exactly the type of timing he needs. Plenty of Atkermather, Bugmather getting mixed in now as well, and the horseman getting caught in a choke point here. Not exactly the fight that MarineLorD needs in that position, as he is unable to get a full wraparound with his mostly melee composition. He wants a very open fight, so is forced to retreat yet again here.
Well, Beasty has been pop-capped here for almost a minute, and this actually stopped him from being able to produce quite a few villagers for a while. There, a house finally coming up. Now, luckily for him, one of his military units died and another villager popped out, but this cost him a full villager during this time. And that's also a pretty decent hit there for Mr. MarineLorD. But Mr. MarineLorD, he's got other plans, ladies and gentlemen. This man is going on to Castle. Are you ready? Because with Macedonian going into Castle, we know exactly what's going on. Is that Beasty walling in MarineLorD's space? No, yes, it was. It was indeed.
Quite a greedy wall as well.
Here.
Yeah, because the Ghazis were not in position to support the archers, and actually most of the archers just get completely cleaned up on the retreat there by Beasty. A bit of overconfidence coming in there to put that wall up undefended and pays the price for it, but is able to retain his control solely because MarineLorD is not fully committed to this. I mean, Beasty must smell here that something is off. Something stinks a little bit like a castle age potentially, and that is exactly what's on the menu. As the Golden Horn Tower coming up on the front here, quite a bold position, but after that fight, MarineLorD might be feeling confident to place it here, knowing that Beasty might not have the mass to challenge this directly. It always forces that choice, doesn't it? Where when it comes to challenging either a white tower or a golden horn tower in this position, and the numbers are very even, you could look to focus the villagers and cause crippling economic damage, but then you'll likely lose the fight. But then if you focus on the fight, you will likely just let the landmark go up for free. So it's a difficult spot. However, difficult spot is that boar at that point in time. Actually, there was a boar there as well? That's crazy. MarineLorD.
Now, that Golden Horn Tower is great and all, but it doesn't defend the rest of the space. But luckily, MarineLorD, he has the reflexes of a very fast man. But that wraparound, the scholars are all paying the price. The horses get 5 scholar kills in this position. That must feel pretty amazing if MarineLorD. The man is not too upset with losing a few horses on the way out here. The Ghazis, though, still trading pretty effectively here as the Atkamajir were not in position, and the archers are trying to focus what they can, but the upgrades are going to be coming in soon, and this is just going to mean that these trades are not going to go that well for Beasty.
Not well at all, because this is actually disastrous for Beasty at this point in time. The upgrades are coming in here for MarineLorD. Redari are now in production as well for him, and the army just getting completely cleaned up. The Hippodrome champions, the Redari, the extra damage on these horsemen means that these Ghazis are getting cleaned up. The archers are useless against this composition. The Bogmathar are also just better than Beasty's archers, and he's just dead in the water when it looked like he potentially had a chance. Beasty loses game number 3 here, and MarineLorD takes the lead with the Macedonians. I mean, Macedonians. Yeah, they are special indeed.
A lot of people are very happy getting Macedonians in those drafts, and we can see MarineLorD really utilizing that. Now, I do want to point something out. Whenever I think of a MarineLorD Beasty game, I think of Delhi being one civilization he really struggles to win against MarineLorD with. There was a game a few years ago that stuck in my head. MarineLorD playing French, Beasty playing Delhi, which was already a pretty rough matchup for Delhi, right? But just getting a beautiful wraparound on villagers outside on the map, trying to get those resources. And I feel like it plays ode to what could have happened here with the Redari, with what we've seen from MarineLorD as well. Eventually, Delhi needs to leave their base for resources, and it just doesn't feel like MarineLorD would have let that happen. So yes, the fights were taken, but I feel like MarineLorD knew this was, with him doing all that damage, he was going to have a pretty good time. And Beasty, he also knew he needed to do some damage, because the later this goes, the better Macedonians are going to be off.
It's true. That's one thing that's very painstaking against the Macedonians. I mean, I say Byzantines, it's pretty close, let's be honest. The fact that the silver just keeps rolling in, and the upgrades are going to just keep coming. They're going to exceed what they are per age, to the point where, I mean, in Castle Age, the units can get up to 6 additional armor. It is just ludicrous how strong it is. And you know, it puts the pressure on you to actually deal damage against them. But then there's the Golden Horn Tower in your face stopping you from doing so. It really is incredibly effective of a civilization in so many circumstances. They can do whatever, really. They can play Feudal, they can play Castle Age. They're very good in Imp as well, although in late Imp they fall off just a tiny little bit.
Now, what I'm really excited to see with this upcoming game is the fact that Sengoku still's not being let through. MarineLorD is telling us a very clear sentence here, and it's Sengoku must not see the light of day. And that's exactly what's happening in this snipe system every single time. Rus against French, and I haven't seen this matchup in quite a while. Myriad, how does this one even play out in recent days?
I think it has gotten just a little bit tougher for the Rus recently. It's been somewhat close even at the peak of Pro Scouts. I mean, I think Rus definitely had the edge by a decent little margin there, maybe 55, 60%. It's definitely getting closer to that 55, maybe even 50% now. Potentially some players might say it's favored for French as well. The issue is that you can't stay in Feudal Age as the Rus here up against the French. You just have worse knights than the French do. Your economy will get outscaled by that faster French villager production. You have the cheaper upgrades, of course. You have additional wood as the Rus and some passive gold, which is very good, of course. But I mean, what are you going to use the wood for? Archers against French? Nah. Spearmen? I mean, sure, they'll do something, but at the end of the day, French, when it comes to the archer knight composition, they are undefeated in that Feudal Age, and Rus is not going to be able to hold the bar against that. So it becomes about that Castle Age, and with the Horse Archer, things do open up a lot for the Rus. Of course, that is another area where the Rus have suffered a little bit. Well, it kind of depends, but against the French, they definitely have suffered. Horse Archers now traded some of their damage for additional attack speed, which essentially works out to them being more effective against light units than they were before, but weaker against armored units than they were before. And, well, knights certainly are armored there for the French. So I'm excited to see it. It's been a while since I've actually seen this matchup at this level, so I'm very curious to see how it plays out, whether it's the exact same and some of the timings change, or whether we're going to see something new, especially from the Rus entirely.
This takes me to those days where the Rus would just go no units into Horse Archers against French and still come out ahead. So with the Rus changes, that's not something people get to do as much as they used to. And honestly, I'm really glad to see that. So we do need to see some early game gameplay here from our Rus player. We see 40 seconds before we hop into the next game. But there's one more map after this, if Beasty is able to take down MarineLorD's French. And that is Frisian Marshes. Now, looking at their drafts, very clearly, nobody is letting anyone play Ottomans on there. But now Beasty, he has Taklak, he has Sengoku, he has HRE, and I can imagine the Taklak HRE being a very big prio pick for him on that side of the draft. But it looks like we are ready to roll. 20 seconds in already. The boys are ready for this showdown of champions. And Beasty on the Rus going to be taking on MarineLorD with the best knights in the game. And also on his home civilization, playing the French. He's got a boost in there already. But look at him. He's already out there on the map going for the deer. Very spicy play. Yet again, MarineLorD not scared to move out of his base and capitalize on those outside resources. I'm smelling no professional scouts for the man.
Definitely not. That's one thing that's been very interesting to see since the latest Pro Scout nerf is French, they can still go Pro Scout sometimes and it can do fine, but it feels so rewarding to just skip it. It means you don't have to actually stop any knight production. You can keep up that pressure and you just have to go on the deer initially as they do here, which is so cozy for the French to do. Not only is your mill cheaper, so you don't even need to gather any wood, you can even afford to go survival techniques and not have to gather any extra wood here as the French. So it makes for a very smooth transition into that feudal age and into even more knights. Of course, extends the lifespan of your sheep in turn. So Marino is going to be very happy with seeing those nice and early here. And normally the difficult point for Rus here is getting that spearman count that's necessary to take all of their safe deer packs, and then, you know, stop spears, just go for the Carthage. Because there's absolutely no hope in trying to steal the French's deer. That is exactly where Rus will die if they attempt to do so. So I'd be extremely surprised if Beasty goes for it. But getting those spearmen, denying those initial knights is going to become even harder when the knight production doesn't actually cease here. MarineLorD actually even going for a Dark Age wheelbarrow. So looking to prioritize that early. I'm surprised just a little bit seeing this, because normally we see that only in combination with Pro Scouts, yeah. I mean, you can still go it without Pro Scouts, but it does delay your age up a little bit here for him. But again, you see, even getting wheelbarrow, he doesn't need to gather any more wood except for that second house soon enough. So I understand. It just feels so nice.
The value you get from this is significant, because for him, getting wheelbarrow now, as French, you get wheelbarrow pretty early on anyway, most of the time. But getting it in this position means that your villagers are also going to have less idle time when and if your opponent is the one who's going to be putting that early game pressure on you. So it makes sense for MarineLorD. He's expecting those villagers to have to move around at some point. He's not going to get that all for free. So this definitely makes a lot of sense for him. He loves his mobility. He knows how damaging it can be to get raided. So he's making sure that he's not falling victim to that. Now, Beasty should be hitting that age up a little bit quicker, but French is French. They get a nice little production building in feudal, and you as the Rus, you get a trading landmark. But Beasty making sure he's got the wood he needs to get all the economy, or all the production buildings, if he decided to go and be a little bit aggressive here. Now, with 3 scouts, I can see that was not a significant amount of sheep more than MarineLorD here. But the scouts, luckily, they're going to be the ones who are able to pepper down this poor mill. The villagers, though, they are mostly untouched and not being set up for any raiders.
Yeah, the triple sky is going to be quite annoying here for MarineLorD for sure, early on at this stage. And oh, okay, I was about to say, is MarineLorD op-capped there for a second because it was 0 on wood, but the house was being built, so now it's completely fine. Just a tiny bit of idle time there momentarily, but that's gone. School of Cav, you can see it's being built with 6 here because of the delay. So although the start is really, really nice, you can see the delay manifest. Even building it with 6, the French is only up at 429 on the dot there. So MarineLorD understanding that and wanting to get that knight out ASAP. The mill is going to demand a bit of a repair here, which is always annoying here for MarineLorD. Rus are very good at doing this with the additional scouts. This is just an extra bit of drain on wood, a bit of idle time, all things that add up at this level, especially, of course. Now, Pro Scout is now in queue for Beasty. Barracks is going to be very likely to follow up immediately after this, as soon as the wood is in. Then likely a wooden fortress to start getting that additional income.
It's really interesting for me that he decided to just go for the mill and force the upgrade, sure, but none of these villages are touched. And this is absolutely wild, because we usually see this with knight civilizations or someone who plans to go horse archer civilizations, so that they can snipe these villages down pretty quickly. And there's no healing mechanic from French and feudal to be able to handle that. So Beasty knows that this is going to be a very much army against army situation for him. Now the scouts, they are able to absorb a shot or 2 here. The barracks coming up now. Finished up, and Spearman instantly in that queue. He says, Spearman upgrade can wait. We need the hands on the field, and we need those spears to be ready against these knights. But MarineLorD at the same time getting his 2nd scout too now. And the knights, those numbers are still getting nice and scary. A Beasty, he's doing that thing that we see from the Rus, still not touching a single bit of gold, just using everything he gets straight from the food and letting the wood do the talking.
Yeah, you were right in what you said earlier. Normally Rus can go for a few bunks on those villages with the scouts to soften them up for later knights or horse archers for that matter, but this is one of those matchups where Beasty will be unable to cross the halfway point of the map for a long while, as 2 knights against 2 spears, that's not a fight you want to be a spear in, that's for sure. As with just a little bit of micro, this is going to be a pretty handy cleanup here for MarineLorD. And 2 spears dying like that, it's kind of dangerous. It's kind of dangerous, and make that a third as well as one of the deer being denied two behind this. These are very big and significant losses for Beasty so early, without a doubt. And this is going to make his Scar Stage transition all the more difficult when it comes down to it. He's going to be forced to remass those spears, potentially even add a second barracks or additional production to, like horsemen or archers to secure his secondary deer pack. Although it is behind his base, so that's pretty handy for him. So potentially not, but yeah, he's going to have to make quite a few more. Otherwise, he's going to be very exposed to a dive from MarineLorD, which the French can opt for sometimes in this position.
Oh, French is a civ that is not scared of running under a TC, especially with Chivalry now coming in. Those knights that are half HP now, just look at them again when they start healing up. It's going to feel great for a man who knows how to control those knights perfectly. And now with these archers coming in, they're already making their way across the map. This is going to mean those spears that are currently keeping the knights at bay, they are going to have a little bit of a harder time. And the deer that Beasty has in his base, that's what he's going to need to rely on. This doesn't feel like the haul you usually see from a Rus player on 6 scouts by this point.
6 scouts will be definitely enough to bring in those deer. 4 spears on the field as well. What would have been 7 if not for those losses, so Beasty definitely unhappy with that. But now the archers are on those 2 deer carcasses, and I mean, getting your home 2 deer packs here as Rus is kind of the minimum you need in this matchup. And we see 1 is on the field there towards the south of the cabin, 2 are unpicked up there in the north still. And Beasty's going to look to try and pick them up, but it's easier said than done with the archers now circling. MarineLorD has zero fear, as he knows the fact that Beasty is not opting for any additional military production here besides these spearmen. So the archers can just run around the base, look around with no fear, as the scout picks up MarineLorD's scout there, just as he was starting to run away. Even stealing some of MarineLorD's deer, actually. Beasty's brave. He actually managed to take one all the way towards that ball that MarineLorD is now on. Might be able to bring that one home.
MarineLorD being able to be out here on the ball. Perfect! That by MarineLorD just getting that charge off at the right moment. Spears in shambles right now, falling like absolute flies. And Beasty is not able to get that second tower up here either. So this is just going to mean that MarineLorD, he gets to decide here. Am I going to go and dive? Oh my gosh. We are seeing a good old time travel back to 1 year ago when French was just going to be faced by a lot of horse archers. So MarineLorD, he's played this matchup a million times. He knows what this feels like. But these horse archers, they are going to feel a little different from what we are used to. MarineLorD, though, he's looking straight at Castle himself.
Yeah, exactly. The value has been gained already. Losing those spears was a very big blunder there by Beasty. Means that his hunting cabin is under threat. He was even forced to rush a secondary wooden fortress that he can't even finish safely. Managed to save his villages, which is great, but even the high trade house is forced into such a defensive position now. And this is the kind of position that Rus starts to struggle in against the French, when they're just relegated into their base and they're forced to mass up a lot of horse archers before they can move out, because the knights and the archers can pose a big threat to them in low numbers. But behind this, of course, MarineLorD is trending towards his own age up, slowly and steadily, adding just a few more units just to make sure that he's putting full respect on this timing.
And getting all of this, Beasty needs to be sure he doesn't take any unfavorable engagements. 2 horse archers ain't it when you are trying to handle this. We do see that tower's upgrade coming in, which means that the units are not going to be able to push in without being punished. And that's exactly what the knight is finding out now. Some of these archers taking a bit of a beating there. But the horse archer numbers are still very barren here, with only 4 now coming through. But it looks like that scout made it all the way back from MarineLorD's base with the deer. The villagers desperately trying to get this up, but the archers are in range, and they are just peppering these up. Finally going to be able to pick up a kill. I'm sorry, MarineLorD. This one's on me. This one is 100% on me. No villager going down this game just yet.
Yeah, just a little misclick there. A rare misclick by MarineLorD means that he retargets to one of the full HP villagers, leaving that one to run away with its life. It was just a single archer shot from death, I'm pretty sure. Maybe with Steel Darrow, that is the case there. Even a ram actually getting dropped here by MarineLorD. MarineLorD actually fully reinvesting at this point in time. Not what I expected at all, but this could be... I was about to say this could be prudent, but there is a wooden fortress with a springboard emplacement. This is a bit unlike MarineLorD actually to do something like this, so I'm very excited to see how this is going to go. Now Beasty looking to cut the reinforcements.
He's trying, but the problem is MarineLorD has so many units here. I love that he just paused the button on Castle, said moreknights.com, and all the knights numbers are just getting scarier and scarier now. That one ram causing a ton of havoc, because this means Beasty, he needs more wood, he needs it now, and he needs to find a way to deal with any units. But those horse archers are not doing what we see usual horse archers do. They're stuck in the base, waiting for better days. So those horse archers need to find a little bit of damage. This army is not completely together, but Beasty knows he just cannot take this right now. More archery ranges being built behind this. So, you know, he's committed to it. He believes in the horse archers. And if there's a man who's going to make this work, Beasty believes it's him. But look at that damage. It's doing a lot of work here, Myriad.
Yeah, this is the issue with staying feudal here as the French. Although the French knights are armored, of course, once these horse archers have +2 with that steel arrow, +1, sorry, with that steel arrow, the damage being an 8 up really starts to climb despite the nerfs. You can see them giving a tear to those knights. MarineLorD's strategy here, though, is a complete chokehold, right? He wants to starve Beasty out completely, recognizing the limited deer access, as well as some of the exposed infrastructure. By now, 2 archery ranges went down, as well as a house. Production is stalling here for Beasty, but the horse archer number is still looking pretty healthy. MarineLorD does have to be very, very careful, because his food income has stalled somewhat now as well. The deer packs are... Looks like the first one is completely depleted. The second one, I think, is mostly depleted, although there's no villages there. Even now, Beasty's trying to steal deer from it, and I think a scout there got discovered.
Now, MarineLorD pulling back here tells Beasty that there's one of two things happening right now. The man's reinforcing, or he is going to age up. Now, MarineLorD's doing... I guess he's reinforcing as much as he can, but the real answer is we don't know how much MarineLorD still has in him. And Beasty doesn't either here. He did steal a few deer, but finally a villager might be going down. The boar absolutely giving the value that MarineLorD needs to stay in feudal here. Now, Beasty doing a little bit of a sneaky switch. He's going for his own stable, plus 2 more to try and make some knights. Oh, cancels it. The moment he gets spotted, he cancels it. He knows that those rams are going to find a new target pretty quickly, and the stables get placed forward. He is going to try to make this work.
Yeah, and Beasty's quickly running out of space here to drop any more production. Now the back archery ranges are going to be under threat from these rams as well. Knights would be a great choice here for Beasty, considering he honestly has way more resources in the bank than I would expect. Like, I thought he'd be really struggling resources-wise, but the food is there. The gold is there as well for a good little bunch of knights. And Castle Age knights will do very well here for him. There's only archers and knights on the field here from MarineLorD, who even now is still reinvesting in this feudal age. I'm almost tempted to call it overzealous at this point in time. Maybe he really does not want to meet the Rus and the Castle Age on even terms, which could be a prudent choice. Normally, French are the ones with the mobility advantage, but when it comes to Castle Age, Rus is yet undefeated in that regard. The Rams take down the monastery, the gold income now suffering.
This is just so tough because Beasty keeps cancelling all those barracks because MarineLorD, he doesn't just attack one side. He keeps making circles. He knows exactly where to land. Finally, Beasty getting his stable up and MarineLorD feeling confident enough to be all the way out here on the boar on Beasty's side with a lot of horse archers at that. So this is crazy. Seeing Beasty in a position where MarineLorD just feels confident enough to be right there next to the horse archers without feeling a grain of a threat. That economy from French also starting to show here. You can see that villager lead really starting to matter. Beasty's house is falling very quickly, but he's got the wood in the bank to make this work. So the knights slowly going to be joining this army. And again, just losing buildings so fast with those 2 rams and the archers to support them.
MarineLorD now looking very close to his own castle age, but the amount of production that has fallen here for Beasty is immense. You can see that in the destroyed value. Not many units have fallen back and forth, both being extremely careful naturally, but all of that destroyed value is pretty much mostly buildings. Beasty going for a little raid now, but there are some defensive units here in position for MarineLorD. Beasty's going to sacrifice these horse archers to get as much economic damage as he can, it looks like, as the guild hall is being rushed up with 15 at this very same spot, actually. And as you mentioned, MarineLorD, taking that ball from Beasty is actually an immensely important detail. That is so much food, additional food, the best food available on Dry Arabia that MarineLorD now has access to as well. And with this kind of an archer count and this knight count, with these veterancy upgrades coming in for him, I think Beasty's gonna be in a bit of a struggle because his food income is very severely struggling at this stage, and it's not likely to get better anytime soon. He's able to move out onto those northern berries now as well, and finally has some map control, but MarineLorD has keeping firm tabs of these units, and he might be able to cut them off if Beasty's not careful.
MarineLorD's army is following this pack of horses so smoothly, so he's able to just follow up when this lands. And you can see that with all of this, it just means basically idle time on these horse archers. They are going to be able to focus down a knight or 2, but you have to ask yourself, when is it worth sacrificing here? Do you need to find some different damage? And Beasty just using those knights as much as he can now. He knows the numbers are going to be in MarineLorD's favor. MarineLorD on 20 knights, definitely not a fight you want to be taking anytime soon. He does pick off 2 of them right over here. But these horse archers, they need to know something's up. Beasty can see the boar is dead, but you don't even think about looking for these things. Because, of course, why would your opponent be on your side of the map?
It's one of those things. This happens in Age of Empires 4 so often. Something that seems so brazenly greedy. Such a, disgustingly greedy move that is just bound to be punished. You simply don't expect at this level, but here it is regardless, and from MarineLorD no less, someone who is known for being very calculating, not taking virtually any risks, and is now left with his pants down with 5 villagers in this tower. 2 are bound to be dead, and I don't know if he's in a position to actually contest this in time. There's not a lot of burn power here from Beasty, so yeah, he definitely is.
Yeah. MarineLorD is just able to get here right on schedule. The archers finally getting into position as well. And he gets the tower reinforced with a springhold emplacement. It shows you how confident he is about keeping it. But Beasty is raiding on the backside now. We see 7 villagers going down total. With those 2 at the top, it definitely paid off. The horse archers trying to help out, but it feels like they're doing so little damage here.
And the raids from Beasty have actually paid good fruit, because not only 9 villagers have been killed to the point where the villager count is almost even now, which it definitely shouldn't be considering the French bonus, but a lot of MarineLorD's gold income has been stalled to the point that only now is the archer veterancy soon to come in. Even though he's been in Castle Age for several minutes at this stage, he couldn't quite get that 250 gold together needed to put that upgrade in, as well as continually produce knights. Another ram has now hit the field, and these stables are now under threat. There's a good number of knights here from Beasty, but even more from MarineLorD. I think the inspiration from the warrior monks, which I cannot quite see, might make the difference here, potentially in Beasty's favor, as he looks to fully engage. The knights do wrap on top of the knights that go around the flank, and they manage to get massacred. Good connection on the backline by Beasty. Towards the southern side, however, many archers are falling, but there's too many knights here from Beasty, too many bodies to tank for these archers. The horse archers getting immense value behind this. So many of MarineLorD's knights are falling, but there's more in reserve still coming, and there's no more frontline left here for Beasty. Only some knights, scraps of them even, are left at this stage. When it comes to archer on archer, horse archers do win that technically, but they don't trade cost effectively.
Now, Beasty did kill yet another Vill out here, but was this going to be enough? We have to ask ourselves now, MarineLorD with the guild hall, is he able to just get a safe food transition for him? Because now things are starting to pile up. And this is usually where French feels a little bit more confident in just taking complete control, or in MarineLorD's case, to just destroy someone. And he's got both those options in his pocket right now. Beasty, though, he does have 4 relics, and you can't just scoff at that. This is massive. He's got the hunting cabins, he's got the relics. This feels still like he is okay. He's not safe, but he's definitely okay where he's at right now. The Knights, though, constantly, MarineLorD showing us he's just never gonna stop. Every time Beasty thinks, okay, it's slowed down, I'm safe, MarineLorD's like, where's your economy? Let me take care of that. And yet again, more Knights arriving. Beasty trying his best to survive there, but we see idle villages from MarineLorD at the same time, 26 right now. So this could mean that there's more shenanigans happening on the other side of the map too.
Yes, these are the kind of raids that MarineLorD desperately needs, because when it comes to splitting these horse archers, the burden of micro is so much heavier on Beasty than it is on MarineLorD. I mean, if you have 5 Knights up against horse archers, the horse archers will get absolutely massacred unless you kite and run with them effectively, and doing so in 2, 3, potentially even 4 different places on the map, it becomes frankly impossible for a human to do, even players at this level. So MarineLorD recognizes this. He's going to look to defend whilst also raiding from the northern side at the same time, forcing Beasty even to invest into crossbows at this stage. And keep in mind, behind all of this, the guild hall is ticking up to over 1,000 now, and now MarineLorD looks to engage as Beasty wants to cut off the escape route, but he doesn't actually have enough really here to fully stop this retreat from MarineLorD. Knights coming in from the back, they're going to get cleaned up by the French Knights. The archers are focusing onto the horse archers as well as the crossbows. Looks like as long as the Knights are saved here by MarineLorD, he doesn't mind this fight too much. He's going to clean up even more of Beasty's Knights. So many of Beasty's Knights just went down due to a numbers disadvantage. Even though with Boyar's Fortitude, the Knights are very comparable in strength in Castle Age, I want to say.
Now, what was interesting there is the crossbows didn't make it to actually doing any damage. They kind of got cooked there before they had a chance to say anything. And now the villagers, they managed to finish a wall, but the Knights, they know where they are. And we saw MarineLorD deal with this earlier. Hello, over there at the wall. Look at these archers. I can just snipe anything I want. So the tower does get clicked for a little upgrade or two, but he knows he cannot stay here. MarineLorD is ruthless, and now the resources, like you said, they're banking up, and MarineLorD's thinking about Imperial already, while still constantly producing at that.
That is the power of the French Guild Hall in the Castle Age here. The gold is prepared. He has pretty much all the upgrades he needs. Only the second economic tier upgrades are still outstanding. As I say that though, he's fixing that straight away. The melee armor is not too important in this position for MarineLorD, so he just doesn't care about getting them. But these farmlands on the back here for Beasty, MarineLorD didn't quite spot them earlier on. There was no scout with the army, but now they might just get spotted if he's not careful. Actually, he doesn't spot them yet, even now. The wooden fortresses are getting upgraded with springboard emplacements. MarineLorD could be stuck between a rock and a hard place here, but the military numbers just are not there from Beasty. MarineLorD can just brute force this. He has more knights, more backline. The crossbows are falling like flies. The horse archers will be next. The knights are also getting melted by MarineLorD's knights with the extra damage after a charge that he even has the upgrade for at this stage. And there's virtually nothing left for Beasty in this game number 4 here. He might face elimination in this week. Now the farmland that MarineLorD finally had spotted is under threat, and this is the only bit of food income that Beasty has left, and it is now idle when he needs it most to remass.
And you can see Beasty is desperately trying to get these trades to go his way, but MarineLorD is instantly right-clicking every single crossbow that dares come out of that poor little archery range. And now with the knights on the back line, the towers might be in place, but MarineLorD doesn't care. He's going Imperial any second now. The food is almost right there for him. That red palace, it can go up on Beasty's big gold. That's how much control this man has, and he knows it. We see the villagers desperately trying to stay alive here, going to the back. They will make it into the tower, but one of them does fall. And even if MarineLorD loses all these military units, he is not in any danger whatsoever. More archers joining the party, but Beasty is not ready to give up. He's giving it his all.
Yes, normally, sometimes when the French do opt for this Imperial Age play with the Guildhall, they're often left losing map control in exchange for it, but MarineLorD has firm map control to the point where he has units even behind Beasty's base, causing a havoc even at this very moment as the Red Palace is placed on that left and gold there towards the west side of the map. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if Beasty just taps out the moment that Red Palace finishes, because this is an insurmountable advantage that MarineLorD has at this point in time. A firm economic lead, military lead, and now soon to be a technology lead as well. All three parts of the triangle are in his favor, and that is an overwhelming lead.
Now MarineLorD looking for that final push, while at the same time getting that Red Palace up on big gold. It feels like a rock just stuck. No, this is a rock at the bottom of the ocean right now. This is not a rock. You being stuck between a rock and a hard place. You are the rock. You're at the bottom of the sea. MarineLorD is the captain, and he says, stay down there. Beasty does not make it through, but MarineLorD now making it to the finals for that first week of qualification. Absolutely brilliantly.
Fantastic series, an explosive one here to start us off on this Sunday as MarineLorD claims victory 3-1 against Beasty, but not an easy one at that. Beasty has played tremendously well, putting up a great fight and then delivering a convincing performance in that second game as well to take it to victory, but ultimately MarineLorD just a small leads throughout these games. The advantages, potentially some better matchups accrued here, do in the end work out in his favor and deliver him the much needed victory to place him in the finals for this week. Now Beasty is eliminated this week, of course, but as we mentioned, besides this week, there's 3 more weekends of qualifying, so we haven't seen the last of him whatsoever.
And this is a high-stakes event, right? This is everything for all these players. This is the biggest event that these players could sign up for. And it's important to qualify. I think a lot of people, when we see Red Bull Wololo announced, a lot of players are like, this is the moment where I get to make all the income I would have made from every other tournament this year. So for these players, this means everything. And every single player in this top 16 bracket is going to be working for a slice of that pie. Beasty will have his chance next week, but MarineLorD, he's still looking good. And I'm glad to see him back at the finals of a tournament.
Yeah, last time it wasn't that easy, for sure. But once again, looks to be back in form in this first week. And placed himself in these best-of-7 finals. And it will either be up against Papipo or Anatand, which is the other semi-finals still to be played shortly after this one. I do believe there might be an interview on the way soon. Yeah, and I think that will be ready for us here in a moment. We're just waiting to be switched over to hear from the main man himself, MarineLorD, the one and only. Congratulations on a fantastic series here up against Beasty and securing the spot in the finals. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good. I think it was pretty hard, and it was some hard matchups, I think. Like, not necessarily bad, but like just pretty 50-50, so you need to play very well. And I think we both made a lot of mistakes, but obviously after such a long game too, we start playing a little bit worse. Slightly, I think.
Yeah, those long games do sort of really take a toll, don't they? Especially on the loser normally. It's often said that losing one of those really long games, especially if it's like the first or the second in the series, normally spells doom towards the end, doesn't it? Let's have a look here quickly at this very first game. I hope it's Marlins. I find is an interesting matchup on this map in particular here on King of the Hill, because I think the matchup is somewhat even, but it played out a lot like how I expected. It comes down to that sacred side, doesn't it, here? And this sort of fortification that Beasty had built up with the Manganiques, with the towers. And yeah. I think ultimately it was really the raids, I think, that made the difference in the end and allowed you to break through. In my opinion there. Yep. Did you feel like there might be a struggle in breaking through towards the end after that sort of first push of yours into the side stalled?
Yeah, after the first push, I believed, I was like, maybe I'm dead. But I was really surprised he could hold, because his army was so small. But Manjanic are obviously very strong, so... And then he was making walls. He didn't have many towers because I was killing them, but... I think my main mistake was not going for more Mangonels myself. But the problem is that if you go for a Mangonel war against Manjanic, you are gonna lose. So it's kinda tricky. But I think I needed to add like maybe 4 or 5 Mogonels, so the main fights that happened, I should just focus is like villagers and crossbow killing my army, and then I'm fine. But I didn't do that. I was very surprised, honestly. I thought it was gonna be super easy to take the sacred site, but I almost died. It was so close.
Yeah, that's how crazy those Manjaniques are. I was honestly kind of surprised as well. I thought you had enough sofa to break through as there weren't too many crossbows. Is that part of the reason why, because normally we see a lot of archers with Marines at this stage, but it didn't really surprise me to see you not opting for them here. I'm guessing the Manjaniques and needing that sort of melee up against the fires is a big reason why you didn't opt for them, right?
Yeah, I went for melee army, because melee army is supposed to beat Mogonels. But maybe Manjanic are a little bit different. And actually, maybe even Mogonels and Nest of Bees are very good when you have a lot of them, right? Even against melee armies. But I really didn't expect it to be so close against like 40 sofas. When I saw you had like 10 to 15 crossbow, I was like, it's gonna be super easy. But it was super, super hard.
Yeah, it was very crazy to watch, yeah. Just the fire is just too much even. Moving on to that game number 2, now this is a matchup I find very interesting. Especially because I personally haven't seen Jushi played on Front Rage before yet, but when I saw you up against Byzantines, your opening is actually exactly what I expected to happen with the Palace Guards as well as the tower attempt. But I gotta say, if that tower doesn't go up, it starts... I think it just suddenly feels very difficult for Jushi because the longbows start coming out, they do great against the Palace Guards, and then you're forced to go Castle Age, which buys Biz a lot of time. Did you already feel under a bit of pressure once that tower got denied, or did you think you still have good chances?
No, I thought I was... Honestly, like, I think these kind of matchups are very dumb. I think if he has a bad spawn, he's gonna lose, and if he has a good spawn, he's gonna win. And it's pretty much it. But that's a little bit on me because I drafted Zoshir, and it was maybe a little bit risky. And I was really surprised that I almost won. And I was even more surprised than when I lost the fight with like 40 knights against 8 cataphracts and like a few range units. I was very, very confused, honestly. I knew I was missing my attack speed upgrade, but it was still feeling like such a big number disadvantage for Beasty. And it was still pretty much impossible for me to win any fights, which is a bit crazy.
Yeah, I honestly, I found myself in this position a few times as Jushi with like pure knight up against longbow cataphracts and maybe a few spears or a few crossbows, and I just get absolutely demolished. So the fact that happened to you as well is sort of vindicating to me to some extent as well. But yeah, I mean, you still put up a fantastic effort. Yeah, go ahead.
I believe they had just enough, but then I started losing the fight, and I knew I was pretty much dead. Even though like I knew I had a decent economy, I was on pagodas. And the Yan Dynasty, which is good. I had map control, I had everything I wanted to have, but literally, I don't have any army to make pretty much. I cannot make any units that are gonna beat Cataphract and Longbow, which is the problem against Byzantine right now, I think. The combination is just too strong, and it's pretty much the problem in the meta, right? Any civilization that have very strong knights and archer, they shouldn't lose any fight in theory, because I think spears are too weak. So you just, when you play French, you have cheaper archer and you have very strong knights. When you play Japanese or Sengoku, you have very strong knights and archer. And it's the same for Byzantine. You have very strong combination with... even though Cataphract by itself is not that strong, the combination with Longbow is obviously totally OP.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's that combination with the bonuses that means that these civs just thrive in almost any environment. But despite that, great effort nonetheless. It still looked incredibly competitive with this imp timing. And it was a very close, nail-biting game, regardless.
Yeah.
Moving on to game number 3 here, we do have a very interesting matchup yet again. One I haven't seen before at this level, played Macedonian up against the Delhi Sultanate. And I thought it started looking a little bit worrying initially because you went into the Spearman, the Atkir method quite early. Even though in theory your horsemen are better, especially with the +2, but I'm guessing you're slightly worried about the healing aspect, right? Potentially putting the scholars, because that can turn the tide, right?
Yeah, if we just stay move, I'm gonna win, but he's never gonna do that. He's gonna go heal every time. And if we just keep doing that, I'm gonna lose eventually. So I am the one that needs to make something else. And yeah, I don't know, like this matchup, I had it once, maybe on the Bold End. And I was feeling okay about it, about Macedonians. But it's still very, very tricky and very hard. Delhi can be very strong sometimes, so I wasn't too sure if I was in a good matchup or not.
Do you think Macedonia can probably win this in an extended feudal age if you can keep Delhi locked in feudal? Because the silver's going to keep coming in, and the Varangians have the extra melee armor even against the Ghazis, but you opted to go for castle age instead. Was that just to play it safe, to not get stuck in feudal, or did you think that potentially Macedonia against Delhi in feudal, you'll probably lose that in the long run?
I think it should be very close, but I am very scared of Delhi getting like 10 monks and aging up quickly, because then I'm just gonna die to fast upgrades. So it's very, very tricky, I think, to beat Delhi in this matchup. Also, I was a little bit like, I had a scout on his food on the right side of the map, on his deer pack and his berries. And I was expecting him to go there pretty early to play feudal war. And when I was seeing him staying in his base, I believed he would go fast castle at some point. That's why I was like, okay, maybe I should go castle myself too. And if you go castle against castle and I get like 2 or 3 relics, I think I can actually win with Macedonians. Because, once again, very strong archer and very strong knights. Even though they don't have much health of anything else, you just need that. Very strong knights and very strong archer. Obviously they have elephants with Delhi, but it's still a little bit like you don't have the mobility and it's not as strong, I think. But the elephants archer are very good too.
Yeah, exactly right. Moving on to that final game here. What a classic matchup to finish off the series as well. French up against Rus, which, I mean, even back during the Pika Pro Scouts, this matchup went back and forth repeatedly, right? French winning there, Rus winning here. And obviously since then, I think it's mainly Rus that has suffered since then. Obviously the horse archer nerf against armored units, weaker Pro Scouts at this stage. Is it safe to say that this matchup now is quite comfortably somewhat in French's favor, or do you still think it's quite close?
I think it's pretty close, but yeah, I would say slightly French favored. And yeah, I don't know, it was a very good game. I think he played very well with like the scout on my deer pack. That denied an entire deer pack just by one scout moving my deer around, which is very annoying. If I had this deer pack, I think I would have killed him very early. But I didn't, because he played it well. So I had to take his boar, and I had to roam around his base to try to kill stuff, but it was very hard, for sure. And I forgot my archer upgrade for a while. I was very surprised and I didn't see it in my queue.
Yeah, at one point, before that point, you were very close to Castlage, but then you heavily reinvested in feudal and dropped 2 rams, which I think really surprised me, because normally we don't see you play that way. Was that a response to the damage you had found, thinking you can keep destroying infrastructure and keep him pinned in his base?
Yeah, he had a lot of food on the left, and his base was not built perfectly to deny a ram push. So I believed I could go ram and just put more pressure. And I feel like if I go castle, no matter what, he's gonna get relics ahead of me. So I'm not gonna win anything by going castle earlier. Except having guild all a little bit earlier, but I feel like putting more pressure and then going castle when I need to was the better move.
Yeah, it certainly was in the end, and it worked out there for you. Just before we leave you here, I know we've kept you a while longer, and I'm sure you're eager to rest a little bit and watch the next game, but how are you feeling about this one, this tournament in particular? How you feel about your form, about your chances for this first week? Obviously, there's not a huge amount of pressure. It's only the first week. There'll be plenty of other chances, but how do you rate yourself now compared to the level of competition that you've been seeing in practice and what you've been seeing from the games yesterday?
I think this draft format is very, very hard for everyone. And I think it makes everyone way closer in skills than before. I honestly think if it was the normal draft, it works way better for my style and I think I will win as usual. But with this format, I think anyone can win pretty much against anyone all the time. I think even though you can reduce RNG because you don't have any matchup wins anymore, because you can just draft pretty well, the amount of matchup and maps knowledge you need is pretty much infinite. Which gives, I think, in my opinion, a lot of RNG because no, I'm not even drafting to have good matchup. I'm drafting to have a matchup I at least played once in practice, right? Just to know like what I'm gonna do. And we never had that before. And I honestly don't think it's necessary to have this draft format. I think the game is already so complicated. We have so many more sieves every time. We have different maps all the time. Maps are changing during the tournament because of updates. Same for even the civilization. They're getting updated during the tournament. So I think like the game is just so freaking hard. We don't have to make it more complicated, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, when it was being discussed, I was one of the ones who did agree with you on that regard. It does feel extremely difficult and somewhat like there's a lot of guesswork involved. I mean, you first pick a civilization, and you don't even know if you can ever get to play in the series, right? It's one of those things, but we'll see how that changes things, right? Yeah.
I think when we used to play with the old draft, it would look a little bit like normal chess, and I think with this new draft format, I think it looks a lot like freestyle chess, which are two very different games, right? So I'm not too happy with them like literally changing everything we've learned before because I was doing very well. But if I need to adapt, I will adapt, but I don't think this draft format is good. I think it's too much work and I don't want to spend my whole day practicing all the time and still not having a good chance of winning because it's just too random, I think.
Yeah, we're just going to wrap it up here for that. Just if I can get a quick prediction on the next series as to who you think might win between Anatan and Papipo. Just can't let you go without giving us your thoughts on that, of course, quickly.
Yeah, there are like two of the three people I played the most with, and I think they are literally 50-50. So I'm not sure how they match against each other. I know they didn't practice against each other at all, but from my practice, it was always very close against both of them. And yeah, it's gonna be very, very competitive, I think. Hopefully, I want to watch a good match.
I think so as well, and you get to prepare with it. Once again, MarineLorD, fantastically played. Thank you very much for giving us this insight, and enjoy the next game that's upcoming, and good luck in the finals. We'll be seeing you again soon.
Bye-bye.